330 in Introduction to God. Mitswah, Instructions. 6. Mitswah, Conditions. The Agreement. The Torah teaches that there is only one God, Yahowah, and that he established his Beryth, family-oriented covenant relationship with Abraham in anticipation that some of us would come to know and love him. As evidence of this, please consider the following Torah, instruction from the greatest of the prophets. These are, wazith, the instructive conditions regarding the appointed offering and the expectations of the relationship, ha-Mitswah, the authoritative directions and written instructions which comprise the precepts and terms of what has been established, from my, to consider the who, what, why, where, when, and how of Zawah, appointing, establishing, and constituting the message, then enjoining it by shouting out the instructions and directions regarding what has been commissioned. The clearly communicated and inscribed prescriptions of what we should do in life to live, cook, the shared thoughts and recommendations regarding an allocation of what has been appointed and cuts us into the agreement, and the means to exercise good judgment to justly resolve disputes, waha mishpat, along with the basis for sound decision-making and rational thought, from my, to consider the who, what, where, why, when, and how of shafot, thinking rationally and morally, which, to provide the benefits of the relationship, Asher, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of Yahowah, our Eloah, God has directed in His Towrah 331, teaching regarding His hayah, existence, and our shalom, restoration, your God, Elohim Atom, has provided instructions and directions, Zawah, has appointed and established, constituting the message and enjoining it by shouting out the instructions and directions regarding what He has commissioned, Peel Perfect, to teach, La Lamed, to impart the information needed to learn, to offer instructions and insights, even clues which, when diligently, rigorously, and thoughtfully processed, engender a reasoned response, what should be done, especially how you should engage and act, atom la asar, what you should celebrate, actively engage in, act upon, prioritize, focus on accomplishing, and capitalize upon, kal infinitive, in the land, ha eres, within the material realm, to which you, Asher atom, which, to show you the way to get the most out of life, you are going to pass over, obar, you will move through, there, sham, this place, as an inheritance, la yarash hai, to receive it as an heir. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:1. Moses picking up where he left off in Dabarim 4 by delineating the building blocks of the Torah, Mitswah, instructive conditions, cook, inscribed prescriptions, mishpat, sound decision-making, asher, benefits of the relationship, lamed, effective teaching, asar, acting and engaging, obar, passing over, and yarash, to receive an inheritance. When religious Jews see such a list, it curls the cutest pio, twists the straps of the tightest tefillin as it excites their wee little phylacteries, girds their gartel, knots up their zitzit, and levitates their kippah, stretching the polyester threads of their bekisah to the limits of their endurance. Lord only knows what it does to the fur in their streamel, weasel hats, or what would occur if rabbis endorsed magical undies like the Mormons. Undaunted, the grey-bearded rabbis have turned their contorted interpretations and tortured augmentations of the Mitswah 332, corrupted into 613 mitzvot, into a lifelong neurotic obsession. Oh, the joys of being Hasidic! Based upon the superlative cognitive extrapolations orated in Rabbi Simlai's captivating sermon in the 3rd century CE, dutifully recorded in Talmud Mako 23b, not to be mistaken for Mos or Dabarim, there are 248 mitzvot aser, positive commandments, wrongly ascribed to the number of bones and organs in the human body, to ritualistically perform, and 365 mitzvot lotars, negative commandments to arduously avoid, one to obsess over every day each year. Mind you, only 77 of the positive and 194 of the negative mitzvot can be observed because Rome raised the temple and used Yahweh's treasures to build their godforsaken Colosseum, but let that not deter the devoted. Christians have the opposite reaction. Bamboozled as they are by Paul's gospel of grace, they cringe any time someone even hints at the idea that there are things God wants us to do, that He expects us to learn, act upon, and engage in to be saved. For them, this somehow turns God's generous offering into something laborious, even superfluous. What they do not realize is that, while Yahowah has facilitated the means to reconciliation, and while He delineates the path home throughout the Torah, the preponderance of His Towrah teaching isn't focused on salvation but, instead, upon conveying the Mitswah, mishpat, and cook such that we lamed to asar to His Beryth, covenant relationship. Like any meaningful commitment between individuals, both parties have to engage for it to have any value. Imagine trying to live in a marriage where you did nothing together, and where your husband or wife never responds to anything you say or do. Such a relationship would be a source of endless frustration. Or worse, imagine the frustration you would feel if your partner constantly did 333 the opposite of what you asked, as is the case with the religious and God. When it comes to His Beryth, family-oriented covenant relationship, Yahowah is our father, and we are his children. As a father, it is God's responsibility to teach his children such that they act in a manner which is conducive to their growth and well-being. And while you and I are free to ignore his advice, to reject his guidance, to oppose his instructions, or to accept his counsel, if you choose any of these options save the last, our Heavenly Father will have every reason to ignore you, reject you, or even oppose you. It's his covenant, his family, and his home. They exist, and we enter, under his terms and conditions. The covenant's blessings are a gift, they represent an inheritance from our Father. To receive them, all that is required of us is to agree to God's terms, of which there is one prerequisite and 4 requirements. That is not to say everything Yahowah told his children to do in the land remains doable today in unrelated places governed by man's religious and political pronouncements. Some of Yahowah's instructions are better understood symbolically and applied metaphorically. For example, foods which were once lethal are now relatively safe, but ingesting rotten things, like religious indoctrination, remains fatal. The Torah teaching continues with, they are for the intent and purpose that, Laman, this is in order that, you come to revere and respect, you highly regard, value, and admire, scribed in the kal stem, which conveys that our reverence and respect must be actual, real, and relational in nature, and in the imperfect conjugation, telling us that it is something which if it endures over time will have unfolding and continuing results, and in the second person singular, speaking to each 334 of us individually, Yahowah, Yahowah. As directed in his Towrah, teaching regarding his hayah, existence or God, Elohim Otter, by observing, neshamah, by closely scrutinizing and examining, carefully exploring and considering, and thoughtfully investigating and evaluating, kal infinitive, all of, Sha'uwl, his clearly communicated thoughts and prescriptions of what we should do to get the most out of life. Including being cut into the relationship and receiving a share of the inscribed allotment, Yitschaq, his engraved recommendations and requirements, feminine form of cook which is derived from shakak, to cut in, to inscribe, to engrave, and to portray something which has been prescribed, along with the instructive conditions regarding what he has offered and expects in return, Mitswah. In addition to his authoritative directions and written instructions which comprise the precepts and terms of what he has established, from to consider the who, what, why, where, when, and how of Zawah, appointing and establishing, constituting the message, and enjoining by shouting out instructions and directions regarding what he has commissioned, which, to reveal the correct path to walk to the relationship, Asher, Anki, have instructed you, providing directions for you, Zawah Otter. I have appointed and established for you, calling these terms and conditions out to you. Along with what is being offered and expected in return, for you and for your children, Otter wa ben Otter. And your children's children, wa ben Otter, all, Sha'uwl, of the days, Yamim, of your lives, Chaim Otter, to nourish you, to restore you, and for you to grow as promised, as well as for the purpose of, Laman, elongating, Arak, and lengthening, your days, Yamim Otter. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:2. One of the many differences between a relationship and a religion is highlighted by the dichotomy between the two extreme connotations of yer. Depending upon the 335 context, yer can be translated as revere or fear, respect or tremble, frighten out of your mind. Meaningful, loving relationships are based upon reverence and respect, upon highly regarding and valuing your partner, friend, associate, or lover. Religions are based upon fear, the fear of being excommunicated, robbed of one's freedom, possessions and family, being tortured, imprisoned, killed, or condemned to an eternity in hell. You cannot love what you fear. A family controlled by fear is a living hell. So, the religious notion that our Heavenly Father wants us to acquiesce to his terms out of fear that, if we don't, he will torture us forever in hell is an affront to his character, and a condemnation of his purpose. If Moses is right, then Judaism and Christianity are wrong. The prophet is consistently directing our attention to Yahowah while the religious do the opposite. Moreover, Judaism grows by venerating rabbis while Christianity is established by promoting the church, neither of which is part of Moshe's rather extensive vocabulary. I wonder why. As we have come to appreciate, the only way anyone can genuinely respect Yahowah is to get to know him. And the only way to actually know God is by Shema, closely examining and carefully considering his Torah. Those who follow this advice, learn from the Chukka and Mitswah but find no mention of anything even remotely related to a pio, gartel, kippah, bekis shrimel, synagogue, or rabbi. Likewise, we find no reference to Christ or Christian, a cross or crucifix, Christmas or Easter, bunnies or Santa Claus, notwithstanding that the concluding myths are jovial and cute in a pagan sort of way. So, this I would like to ask the retarded, excuse me, I mean, the religious, if Shema Yahowah and his quicken 336 chukka, Mitswah and Mishpat, Lamed and Zawa result in Chaim Arak Yamim, a prolonged life, what do rabbis or a church provide, other than a handy means to lighten one's wallet while robbing the unwary of their soul? Asked another way, what is gained by convoluting and contradicting God's words? Sha'uwl, hell is the answer, but it is hardly a prize, especially when endured alongside those who led you to this place. And in the process, the door to Shamaim, heaven is closed. Although I'm told that if you close your eyes, and mind, and pray really, really hard, it is possible to believe that God wants to reward those who misname and contradict him. So where would Moshe's counsel on Shama and Shema fall on the ledger of positive and negative mitzvot or, for that matter, on Santa's naughty and nice list? Listen, Wa Shama, you should actually take a moment for the sake of the relationship to genuinely hear, Kal perfect, Yisra'el, to engage and endure with God, from a compound of ish, individuals who Sarah, strive and contend with, engage and persist with, are set free and are empowered by God, and be observant, Wa Shema, you should also closely scrutinize and carefully examine, thoughtfully consider and thoroughly evaluate at some period, Kal perfect, because, by acting and engaging, La Asar. Because by expending the energy to accomplish this, particularly if you are genuine, intense, and consistent in your effort, Kal infinitive, in the relationship, Asher, along the proper path to get the most out of life, it will be good for you and especially beneficial, Yatar Bla Otter. This will enable you to be right, correct, successful, prosperous, attractive, and cheerful, continually making you a better, more pleasing and joyful person in your approach, Kal imperfect, so that as a benefit of the relationship, Wa Asher, you will be greatly enhanced, empowered, and 337 improved, multiplied and magnified exponentially, becoming vastly superior, Rabah Maud, you will thrive, exceeding every expectation, living an abundantly wonderful life while growing to the fullest extent possible, Kal imperfect paragogic non-jussive, consistent with, Ka Asher, as a result of, what Yahowah. An accurate presentation of the name of Eloah, God as guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah, existence, the God of your fathers, Elohim Otter, has conveyed to you in his word, the Baal Otter, has spoken regarding you, Peel perfect, regarding a land, Eres, of a place and realm, flowing with an abundance, Zub, gushing with a tremendous quantity of milk, Shalab, a mother's natural, finest and best way to nurture her young, and honey, Wa Dabash, along with the sweetness and enduring nature of the word, from Dabar, word. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:3. Moses just affirmed what we have been saying, that Yahweh's Torah, guidance is good for us. His instructions are beneficial, and they help us grow. Those who listen to Yahweh's message receive the inheritance promised in the covenant, and as God's children, they become Rabah Maud, exceedingly great and powerful Ka, consistent with Yahweh's Dabar, word. Moses began this declaration by encouraging us to Shama, listen to God, which occurs when we are Shema, observant. All manner of wonderful things are showered upon those who do both. The prophet's audience continues to be Yisra'el, Israel, although that name seems to apply to the vast majority of people one way or another. While most are wont to wrestle and strive against God, there is a growing number committed to engaging and enduring with God. While Moses integrated Yatar Bla Otter, it will be good for you into his Dabarim 4 speech, letting us know that the 338 Torah serves to Yatar, make us right with God, successful, prosperous, and cheerful, such that we are better and more pleasing people as a result. This is the first time he has expressed Rabah Maud. Following Shama, Shema, and Asar, it means that those who listen to God, who observe what he has communicated, and who act upon it will be greatly enhanced, empowered, and improved, such that the capabilities of the covenant's children are multiplied and magnified exponentially. This is likely the result of being transformed from matter to energy and then taken from 3 dimensions to 7. Also telling, Moses included all manner of modifiers relative to his use of Rabbah, the impending empowerment of the covenant family. The Kal stem reveals that the result is genuine, while the imperfect conjugation denotes an enduring outcome. Both the paragogic and the jussive convey volition, either in first or third person. Since the speaker is Moses and the one providing the enormity of this benefit is Yahowah, this is being presented as the desire and will of God and his prophet. The Eres, land represents more than Yisra'el, Israel. And while it can describe a region, as it does in the accounting of the flood, or the earth, as it did in Moses' previous speech, or even the material realm, which is the case during the creation account, the Eres is symbolic of the promised land, a place where we are offered the opportunity to camp out with Yahowah as did Adam in Eden. Much has been made of Yahowah's depiction of the Eres flowing with Shalab, milk and Dabash, honey. And yet, it is readily apparent that a mother's milk is perfectly formulated to promote healthy growth among newborns, which is how we all begin in our approach to Yahowah. It is why Pesach and Matzah result in Bikurim, firstborn children. 339 Sure, Dabash, honey is sweet, but that's not the primary point. Like the Dabar, word of God upon which Dabash is derived, it seems to endure forever. Honey is the only natural food product which, even without refrigeration, can survive through the millennia without spoiling. And said another way, the eternal words of God would flow out of the promised land through the prophets to nourish Yahweh's children, helping us grow. What follows is among the most quoted lines in the Torah, especially among Jews. Too bad they remove it from this context and then mistranslate it. Choose to listen, Shama, of your own accord, here, Kal imperative, Yisra'el, Yisrael, Israel, a compound of Ish, individuals who Sarah, strive and contend or engage and endure with El, God. Yahweh, Yahowah, is our God, Elohim Anakdu. Yahweh, Yahowah, is one, Echad, certain, singular, and unique. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:4. It is as simple and straightforward as it is transformative and profound. The object of Yahweh's attention is Yisra'el, not the Hasidic or the Church. His request is for us to listen, not to believe or obey. God's name is Yahweh, not HaShem, Adonai, the Lord, or Jesus. He is one, eliminating the myth of a trinity, of God existing in three persons, or of the Kabbalistic interpretation of God having many personas. Moreover, Yahweh is both certain and unique. What we know today as Dabarim, Deuteronomy 6:4 is the verse most commonly placed within the aforementioned phylacteries, little black boxes worn on the foreheads and forearms of those so blinded by their religion that they cannot differentiate between the actual and allegorical. And yet, in the ultimate act of hypocrisy, those who literally apply the tefillin to their heads and arms 340 actually alter the citation so that it reads, "Listen Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one." Stupid is as stupid does. Retardation runs as deep as the religion causing it. And let's not end the deserving insults with their willingness to corrupt the words they are placing inside of their little black boxes, or with them hiding such words while wearing them as opposed to reading them. Rather than Shama, listening to the words prescribed in Yahweh's Torah, ultra-Orthodox Jews seldom remove their noses from the Babylonian Talmud. Perhaps you are wondering why Yahweh consistently asks us to Shama, listen to him when his Torah instructions are in writing, necessitating the use of our eyes not ears. The reasons are several. First, throughout history, most people have been illiterate. They have been dependent upon listening to others recite God's word. Second, for those who are literate, we retain more when we read something aloud because it engages more of our brain, muscles, and senses. By reciting Yahweh's Torah, prophets, and Psalms, we not only hear God speak to us, but we also help others by proclaiming his message. And third, listening is symbolic of paying attention such that we actually hear what God has to say. In this way, it is like the related Shema, which speaks of close examination and careful consideration. This is the reason the Torah, the covenant, the directions, and the called-out assembly meetings were conceived and revealed. Love, YYV2C6, based upon the aforementioned commentary, you should choose to actually feel genuine affection at this moment, and as a result of listening and being observant, genuinely desire, wanting to be friendly with and adore, cherishing, Kal perfect 341 weqatal, Yahweh, a transliteration of Yahowah is instructed by his Torah, teaching regarding his hayah, existence, your God, Elohim Otter, with all your heart, Barshel Libab Otter, such that you are completely devoted mentally and emotionally by using your full capacity to reason and decide, with all your soul, Wa Barshel Nipesh Otter, with your entire persona and consciousness, the essence of your life inclusive of your ability to be observant and responsive, and with all your might, Wa Barshel Maud, also including all your full capability, to the greatest extent of your power and strength, every aptitude and attribute fully engaged. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:5. While considered the great commandment, this is actually wise counsel. Yahweh wants our love, and he is eager to reciprocate, but he is not demanding anything. This is not my opinion or interpretation of this passage but, instead, a reflection of how Ahab, love was written. It was scribed in the wa consecutive perfect weqatal form, which is a conditional clause conveying volition. Regarding our love, it presents a choice which is exercised within the framework of free will, although it is contingent upon the stipulations previously presented. The Mitswah, instructive conditions, Kuk, inscribed prescriptions, Mishpat, sound decision-making process, and Lamed, effective teaching should be asar, acted upon to Yarash, receive an inheritance. When we come to Yer, respect Yahweh by Shama, listening to and Shema, observing his Kuk and Chukka, Mitswah and Mishpat, Lamed and Zawa, and then asar, engage, we Asher, receive the benefits of the relationship. we not only Chaim Arak Yamim, have our lives prolonged while Rob our Maud, being exponentially empowered, but we also fall Ahab, in love. 342 This means that, while God has given us every reason to love him, he wants to earn the genuine affection of those who have actually come to know him and who realize what he has done on our behalf. Love cannot be compelled. It can only be chosen. Said another way, Yahowah wants us to engage in his covenant, but he will not, and he cannot, force or coerce us to participate in this relationship with him. A loving marriage, which is the precursor to a growing family, can only exist if the parties come together and stay together of their own volition, recognizing that love is a verb and thus an action. This is one of the many reasons the religious carrot-and-stick approach to heaven and hell isn't godly. There is more, much more, we can learn from the unique relational and enduring aspects of the Hebrew tenses. Ahab, love, was written in the Kal relational stem. It reveals that our love should be actual, genuine, and real. And for this to occur, the object of our love must be actual, genuine, and real, something which precludes devotion to the gods conceived by religions. Furthermore, Ahab, love was conjugated in the perfect, which speaks of our love being whole and complete, indivisible and inseparable. The perfect conjugation also means that, at this moment in your life, this would be a wonderful time to fall in love with Yah. My love for Yah has endured from whence we first met, and it has only grown exponentially since that time. And while that sounds like an ideal application of the continuous nature of the imperfect conjugation, when it comes to loving him, God's preference is that we live in the moment and let our Arak Yamim, tomorrows develop of their own accord. It is enough that we choose to love him at this moment. 343 Ahab, Ohab, and Ahaba are deployed 250 times in the Torah, prophets, and Psalms to convey love. Collectively, they convey a sense of affection, devotion, and nurturing within the relational confines of a close and personal friendship, marriage or family. Racham, which appears 47 times in the Tanakh, frames love in the context of mercy and compassion which emanates out of tender affection. Its shorter form, Raham, makes 44 appearances, and the longer form, Rachwam, is scribed 13 times. Collectively, they are used to affirm that Yahowah's mercy is directed toward those he cherishes. Shashak is also a Hebrew word for love, one found 15 times. It shades our response toward longing for, desiring, finding pleasure in, and becoming attached to the object of our devotion. One of the more interesting words for love is Daud, as it is also the name of God's beloved son and Mashiach, David. There is no V in ancient Hebrew, and as we have discussed, the Hebrew Y is pronounced Ow. Daud, which is based upon the concept of fervent, steaming, torrid, and boiling passion, appears 61 times as a noun and another 1076 times as a proper name. Daud is so important to Yahowah's story that references to the Messiah and Son of God surpass even Moses, the great prophet and liberator whose words we are reading. Only Yahowah's name is mentioned more often than his firstborn son. Reah, which is translated as love, appears 9 times. As a compound of Roy and Yeh, it means, love our shepherd, Yahowah. And finally, Ejeb is scribed 10 times to speak of love in the form of sensuality. Considering the aforementioned, the opening verb is accurately conveyed as Ahab, weqatal perfect, based 344 upon the aforementioned commentary. You should choose to actually feel genuine affection at this moment, and as a result of listening and being observant, genuinely desire, wanting to be friendly with and love, cherishing and adoring Yahowah. In this request, there were 3 ways listed to express our love with our lab, hearts, nipesh, souls, and maud, capabilities. So, let's pause a moment longer and consider how these shape our understanding of Ahab when directed at Yahowah. Bar shel libabota, with all your heart is only tangentially suggesting an emotional response. Among the Hebrews, the lab, heart was the seat of judgment, not emotions. Therefore, bar shel libabota actually says, such that you are completely devoted mentally and emotionally after exercising good judgment, and devoting your full capacity to reason and decide. In Hebrew, the heart was governed by the head. Therefore, our love for Yahowah is a result of Shama, listening to and Shema, observing Yahowah. While Bar Shel Nipesh Otter, translated as with all your soul, describes our entire persona and consciousness. Our Nipesh is the essence of our life and is inclusive of our ability to be observant and responsive, concepts which loom large in this context. Our Nipesh is who we are. It is all that remains of us when our time here is done. It is all that matters. A Nipesh, soul, while exceedingly valuable, is common to all animals. Consciousness is what differentiates plants from animals, in that we can observe our environment, and respond to what we see and hear. And while a soul is the essence of animal life, it has never been identified, quantified, explained, or measured, much less replicated by science. It, like dark energy and dark matter 345 comprising 94% of the universe, lies outside of our capacity to perceive. The concluding phrase, Wa bar shol maud, was rendered in the customary fashion as and with all your might, and yet that is so inadequate. To the greatest extent possible, those who shol maud deploy their every aptitude, ability, and attribute to exploring all of the ways to love our Maker. It is to the maximum degree possible. Curiously, indeed wonderfully, maud is a compound of ma, which asks us to contemplate the implications of yud, being a firebrand. This is indicative of someone who stokes the fire, fanning the flames, kindling a spark such that the glowing embers ignite into a roaring blaze. A firebrand is someone who is passionate about inciting radical change, especially when that which they are advocating is unpopular. The political and religious establishment would call him or her a rabble-rouser, heretic, and subversive agitator destined to burn in hell, a badge of honor for those devoted to his cause. Yahowah looks at these bold and relentless individuals as courageous and is proud to call his lovable rogue my son and my daughter, with whom I'm pleased. Daud was such a man, as was Moses. And now we know that, according to God, the world is so lost, he would have us all be firebrands. In the very next line, speaking specifically of what he wants to see on our hearts, Yahowah inspired Moses to write. And these words, Wa ha dabarim ha, this specific message and account, by which, Asher, as a result of the relationship and to show the proper way, I am providing instruction for you, Anoki Zawa Otter, I have been appointed to provide directions for you, this day, ha yaum, they should be, hayah, they should be chosen to exist, kal weqatal perfect on your heart, la lab Otter 346, thereby guiding your thinking and decision-making. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:6, should Yahowah look into your heart, would he find his words there or man's, those of this prophet or your rabbi? Would he see his name or the Lord's, his Torah or your Talmud, his covenant or your religion, his words or the gobbledygook of faith? Would he find an affinity for Matzah and Kippurim or Purim and Hanukkah, Christmas and Easter? Do you advocate on behalf of Moses and Daud or Akiba and Baal Shem Tov, Jesus Christ and the Apostle Paul? Volition is at work here once again, demonstrated by the fact that the verb hayah, they should be was scribed in the weqatal form. We are all invited, even encouraged, to make this choice. Additionally, hayah was written in the literal kal stem, affirming that God was not kidding. He is serious about this. This is what he wants to see, what he expects to see. He will not accept lame excuses or liberal interpretations. This is as real as it gets. Hadabar ha'aleh, these words comprising this specific message which Yahowah wants to find on our hearts includes his Mitswah, instructive conditions of the relationship, his kuk, clearly communicated prescriptions for living, his mishpat, means to make sound decisions, his lamed, teaching, and his zawah, instructions, all of which are found in his Torah, source of teaching and guidance. There is no justification for the Babylonian Talmud, the Zohar, the New Testament, a Bible, or the Quran. It is the Torah or nothing, literally non-existence. Therefore, choose to teach them by rote by reciting them, while Shananhem, elect to impress them by repeating them 347 again and again to mentally prepare and equip them to make reasoned decisions, sharpening and inculcating them, peel weqatal perfect, under the auspices of free will choose to prepare by teaching this, to your children, la ben otter. And you should speak about them, wa dabar bar hem, choose to share these words with them, peel weqatal, during your life, bar yashab otter, in the time that you dwell and remain in your settlements and cities, during your mortal existence, inside of your home and with your family, bar baith otter, in your household, and as you walk, wa bar holocotter, as well as in your travels through life, along the way, bar derek, in the path as part of the journey, in addition to when you lie down and rest, wa bar shakab otter. When you pause and reflect, and when you stand up, wa bar korm otter, when you arise, take a stand, and are restored and established. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:7. The verbal phrase wa shananhem, translated as choose to teach them by rote by reciting them to your children, was once again scribed in the Vorf consecutive weqatal form, the contingent voice of volition, whereby we are encouraged to make this choice in recognition of the cause and effect. This is not a command but, rather, an informed request. In that it was written using the peel stem, we know that our children will benefit as they will be positively influenced by our willingness to teach them God's word. And that is why our purpose in life ought to be to mentally prepare and equip our children by reciting Yahowah's words to them. Still speaking of teaching our children by repeatedly quoting Yahowah's testimony to them, we find the statement religious Jews have taken out of this context to make fools of themselves. 348 And you should choose to be associated with them, conspiring to be bound together with them, wa kashahem, contingent upon the aforementioned and under the auspices of free will, in open defiance of the authorities. You should closely identify yourself with them, joining yourself to them, collaborating in an alliance with them, tying these things together, as a sign of consent, la oath, as an illustration and example of something which is symbolic. Providing evidence and verification as a way to remember that you agree, as a communicative illustration and non-verbal pledge which conveys meaning and provides proof, from youth, to agree and show consent, to show approval after deciding, upon your hand, al yodota, by your actions, so that it influences what you strive to accomplish, and they should be, hayah, they should exist as a contingent expression of volition such that they are, symbolic, la totafoth, emblematic, representational, and encompassing, feminine plural, convoluted into little black boxes called phylacteries, to promote understanding between your eyes, bay and inota, so that these words influence your perspective and thinking through making reasonable connections and associations, from bin and bina, to be discerning and discriminating, making the connections between these things to understand. Dabarim 6-8, and, you should write them, katabhem, you should inscribe and engrave them, permanently recording them, kal weqatal perfect, upon the doorframes, al mazuza, on the doorposts, framework, door jambs of your home, baith and upon your gates, wabashar otter, as well as in conjunction with the entrances to your community and property. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6:9. The descriptive words are both allegorical, from oath, sign and symbol to totafoth, symbolic, and 349 emblematic. Even Bayan Inota conveys that we are to view this from the proper perspective. Just as God does not want us to literally open up our chests to place His words on our hearts, He is not asking us to hide snippets in little black boxes which are then ritualistically tied to the forearm and forehead. If nothing else, this instruction goes a long way to prove that the Hasidic are irrational. God wants us to make His Towrah, teaching an important part of our lives, such that we are constantly reminded of it and share it with our children. On our gates and doorposts of our homes, His words serve as a way of reinforcing that the Torah should be acknowledged and shared. By making this a priority, by reciting these words so often that our children learn God's directions by rote, our families become covenant. His word provides the purest form of nourishment for our minds. Yahowah wants His Towrah to influence our actions and our thoughts, even shape our perspective and lead to understanding. As with many things written in the Torah, we gain more by understanding them than we do performing them. The single most important thing we can do during our mortal existence is to come to know and understand what Yahowah revealed in His Towrah, learning about His word, His name, His instructions, and His guidance so that we choose to attend His invitations to be called out and meet, and engage in His covenant. The better we know them, the more readily we can choose to accept them, trust them, and rely upon them. The second most important thing we can do during our brief lives is to share what we have learned so that others, and most especially our children, come to know Yahowah. And along these lines, it is the knowledge of Yahowah's Towrah which leads to understanding, and understanding leads to trust, and trust to reliance. 350 Yahowah's Beryth, covenant is our Heavenly Father's Beith, home and family. So, when we follow God's example and teach our children, our family receives the same benefits. To participate in Yahowah's Beryth, family-oriented covenant relationship, and to enter His Beith, home, we must walk away from the oppressive and corrupting influence of politics and religion and then walk to God along the path He has provided so that He can perfect us. That is the halak, walk being referenced here. And the derek, path presented herein is symbolic of Yahowah's 7-step plan of reconciliation, one which begins by walking through the doorway known as Passover. That is why Yahowah's Towrah should be written there, so that we know what it represents, and on our gates, so that others might know as well. Considering the merit of what we just read, let's do as God requested. These are, wazith, the instructive conditions regarding the appointed offering and the expectations of the relationship, the authoritative directions and written instructions which comprise the precepts and terms of what has been established, Mitswah, the clearly communicated and inscribed prescriptions of what we should do in life to live, inclusive of the shared thoughts and recommendations regarding an allocation of what has been appointed and cuts us into the agreement, cook. Along with the means to exercise good judgment to justly resolve disputes, the basis for sound decision-making and rational thought, Waha Mishpat, which, to provide the benefits of the relationship, Asher, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Atom, has provided as instructions and directions, constituting the message and enjoining it by shouting out what He has commissioned, Zawah, to 351 teach. Imparting the information needed to learn the insights which can be rigorously processed to engender a reasoned response, La Lamed, regarding what you should do, and especially how you should engage and act, prioritize and capitalize upon, Atom La Sar, in the land, Baha Eres, to which you, Asher Atom, are going to pass over, Ob HaShem, as an inheritance, La Yarashai. Dabarim, words 6-1. They are for the intent and purpose that, Laman, you come to revere and respect, highly regarding, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter, by observing, by closely scrutinizing and examining, carefully exploring and considering, and thoughtfully investigating and evaluating, neshamah, all of, Sha'uwl, his clearly communicated thoughts and prescriptions of what we should do to get the most out of life, including being cut into the relationship and receiving a share of the inscribed allotment. Yitschaq, along with the instructive conditions regarding what he has offered and expects in return, Mitswah, which, to reveal the correct path to walk to the relationship, Asher, Anki, have instructed you, providing directions for you, Zawa Otter, for you and for your children, Otter wa ben Otter, and your children's children, wa ben Otter, all, Sha'uwl, of the days, Yamim, of your lives, to nourish and restore you. And for you to grow as promised, Shayim Otter, as well as for the purpose of, Laman, elongating, Arak, your days, Yamim Otter. Dabarim, words 6-2. Listen, taking a moment for the sake of the relationship to genuinely hear, Shama, Yisra'el, to engage and endure with God, Yisra'el, and be observant, closely examining and carefully considering what you see, Shema, because, by acting and engaging, La'asar, in the relationship, Asher, it will be good for you and especially beneficial, enabling you to 352 be correct, successful, prosperous, attractive, and cheerful, continually making you a better, more pleasing and joyful person in your approach. Yatab La'ata, so that as a benefit of the relationship, Asher, you will be greatly enhanced, empowered, and improved, multiplied and magnified exponentially, becoming vastly superior, Rabah Maud, consistent with, Ka Asher, what Yahowah, the God of your fathers, Elohim Otter, has conveyed to you in his word, Dabar Otter, regarding a land, Eres, flowing with an abundance, Zub of milk, a mother's natural, finest and best way to nurture her young, Shalab, and honey, along with the sweetness and enduring nature of the word, Wadabash. Dabarim, words 6-3. Choose to listen, Shama, Yisra'el, Yahowah, is our God, Elohim Anaknu. Yahowah, is one, certain, singular, and unique, Echad. Dabarim, words 6-4. Based upon the aforementioned commentary, you should choose to actually feel genuine affection at this moment, and as a result of listening and being observant, genuinely desire, wanting to be friendly with and adore, cherishing and loving, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter, with all your heart, Sha'uwl Lebab Otter, with all your soul, the essence of your life inclusive of your ability to be observant and responsive, Sha'uwl Nipesh Otter, and with all your might, your fullest capability. The greatest extent possible, Sha'uwl Maud. Dabarim, words 6-5. And these words, Dabarim Ha'alei, by which, Asher, I am providing instruction for you, Anoki Zawa Otter, this day, Hayam, they should be, hayah, on your heart, thereby guiding your thinking and decision-making, La'alei Otter. Dabarim, words 6-6. 353 Choose to teach them by rote by reciting them, Shananhem, to your children, La Ben Otter. And you should speak about them, Dabar Bar Hem, during your life, Bar Yashab Otter, inside of your home and with your family, Bar Baith Otter, and as you walk, Bar Holok Otter, along the way, Bar Derek, in addition to when you lie down and rest, Bar Shakab Otter, and when you stand up, Bar Korm Otter. Dabarim, words 6-7. And you should choose to be associated with them, conspiring to be bound together with them, Kashahem, as a sign of consent, La oath, upon your hand, influencing your actions, Al Yod Otter. And they should be, hayah, symbolic, La Totafoth, to promote understanding between your eyes, Bayanin Otter. Dabarim, words 6-8. And, you should write them, Katabhem, upon the door frames, Al Mazuzah, of your home, Baith Otter, and upon your gates, Shah Otter. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 6-9. This next statement affirms that Yahowah, the Torah, the covenant, and Yisra'el are inseparable. They are a package deal, such that one is not available without the others. That is not to say, however, that the latter currently understands the former. Moshe's declaration will use the pretext of the Yatzah, Exodus from Miriam, the crucibles of political and religious oppression to predict a second Exodus on behalf of the covenant family. Embedded within the prophecy is another reference to the Nakri, observant foreigner, because he is engaged pointing the way home for those who will soon have eyes to see. With the past painting the 354 future, this revelation plays out over the span of 3,482 years, culminating with Yahowah's and Daud's return. it begins. These, halay, providing perspective on God which is up close and personal, are the words, dabari, the statements and the message, the explanations and accounts providing a linguistic basis, of the covenant, Beryth, the family-oriented relationship agreement, which lead to the benefits of the relationship, asher, which provide guidance on how to be happy and blessed, showing the steps along the certain and narrow path which give meaning to life, Yahowah, Yahowah. The proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in His Towrah, teaching regarding His higher existence and our shalom, restoration, instructed, Zawah, taught and directed, educated and authorized, appointed and commissioned, Peel perfect, 4, Moshe, one who draws out, to cut and establish, La caret, to make as an agreement through separation with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits, Cal infinitive construct, establishing a genuine ongoing and intensely active relationship through a verbal noun, with the children, ben, the sons, people, offspring, and descendants, of Yisra'el, individuals who engage and endure with God, in the land, bar eres, in the territory, region, country, or realm, of Mawop, who's your father. He did so in conjunction with and as part of, min labad, as an aspect of the whole, as a branch from the same tree, denoting membership through separation, the covenant, Beryth, the family-oriented relationship agreement, that he cut, asher caret, which he established to lead to the benefits of the relationship, cutting to reveal the proper and correct path to be blessed while getting the most out of life, cutting through separation with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits 355 inches association with them, while accompanying them in accordance with them, in korib, bar korib, with the nice edge for cutting and separating, with the sharp engraving tool for writing, and in a hot and desolate place prior to the approach of living waters. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:1. The Torah, which was revealed through Moses on Mount Korib, exists to present the covenant, its origination and purpose, its conditions and benefits. The anticipated joy of the covenant is the impetus for the universe and life, the very reason we exist. Without the covenant, there would have been no reason for Adam or Chor to exist, no purpose for the Garden of Eden, no need for Noach or the Ark, and no value to the relationship established with Abraham and Sarah. There would have been no accounting for Yitschaq or Jacob, no stories told about Leah or Yehudah, and nothing known regarding Rachel and Yisra'el. There would have been no Moses, no Torah, and no Exodus. Without the Beryth, covenant, there would be nothing but a lonely God. There would be no Mikra, invitations to meet or mode, eternal witnesses to the appointments, no Moriah or Zion, no Shamuel or Daud, and no prophets like Yesher and Zachariah. Every word, from let there be light to come out of her, my people, exists because Yahowah wants a family. The universe and the life within it were conceived with words, as was the covenant for which both were ordained. This covenant was cut, thereby established by way of separation, by setting one group apart from another. By being it is an agreement with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits, which have become known to us through Yahowah's Torah, teaching. 356 At the time this was spoken, Yisrael was still in Mawop, who is your father and, thus, not yet home. They were as we are, surrounded by an incestuous milieu of socialist secular humanists and Pauline Christians, each with questionable allegiances. We will come to appreciate this prophetic distinction when we focus our attention on the conception of Mawop in Sodom and then trace it through its hideous demise throughout the 5 volumes of Observations. Suffice it to say for now that it is from the modern manifestation of Mawop that Yahowah is calling his people. As we will come to realize when studying Yeshaya 15 and 16, Mawop represents the multicultural blending of sectarian, the secular notions which have become so prevalent in the West. Just as Yahowah was guiding his people out of Mawop and into the promised land on this day, while preparing them to live in it with him, today he is doing the same thing, calling Yahweh, Jews out of the places infected with Christianity and multicultural socialist secularism into Yisrael so that he can protect them. Yahowah, the most creative and influential being in the universe, the most brilliant and effective communicator we will ever know, not only worked with and through a man to convey these words, he chose someone who had been part of the problem before he became part of the solution. Their collaboration was genius, both brilliant and poetic, cerebral and pragmatic. In his next statement, Moses makes a connection most have missed. Yahowah saw, Yahowah acted upon and engaged in the Mikra, thereby Kara, inviting us to meet with him, summoning us to be called out of this world so that we could be welcomed in his, doing so by reading and reciting his invitation. 357 Then, Moshe, so the one who draws out, summoned, calling out to, Kara he invited, meeting with and welcoming, reading and reciting to, Kal imperfect, all of, Sha'uwl, the totality of, Yisrael, individuals who engage and endure with God, saying to them, Wa'amar Elhem, speaking on behalf of God to them. You, yourselves, have witnessed, Atom Ra, you have been shown and have seen, you have witnessed and perceived, Kal perfect, everything that, Sha'uwl, all that leads to the blessings of the relationship and which provides guidance to get the most out of life, Yahowah, Yahowah, a transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by His Towrah, instructions regarding His hayah, existence and our Shalom, reconciliation, acted upon and engaged in, Asar, has done and accomplished, Kal perfect. Before your eyes, La and Otter, in your sight and to provide a witness, in the realm of the religious and political oppressors, Bar Eres Miraim, within the country of despots and tyrants and within the cauldrons of military and economic subjugation, where the authority figures in the place of coercive cruelty confined, restricted, and enslaved, before Pharaoh, La Pharaoh, before all, while our Sha'uwl, of his servants, La Ebedhu, of his associates and co-workers. And throughout his land, Wa Sha'uwl Eres Hu. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:2. Moses was addressing those who had been slaves in Miraim. For the first time in 82 years, they were free. As indelible an impression as this must have made, based upon all that Yahowah has shared, we actually see these events more clearly than the eyewitnesses who lived them. Our perspective is more complete as are the prophetic texts available to us. Also, since Moses' audience was aware of what he was telling them, as they had lived through it, this was written for our benefit so that we would know what 358 Yahowah has done. This is not only relevant to our lives in the modern incarnation of Moab, it is predictive of what will soon occur. Now this indictment, since the Egyptian title Pharaoh was accurately transliterated using the Hebrew alphabet over 3,300 years before the Rosetta Stone provided scholars with the linguistic clues needed to decipher their hieroglyphics, why do you suppose these scholars claim that they cannot use the same letters, replete with 17 consonants and 5 vowels, to pronounce Yehovah? This is a stunning indictment of academia and theology. The point Moses is making in this next statement has been largely ignored. God was not bragging. He wasn't trying to impress the Israelites or scare the Egyptians. He was, instead, conveying a message that was intended to advance our understanding today. Unfortunately, the religious are eager to show their God as fearsome and impressive, able to perform great signs and wonders, all to impress the faithful. Without any evidence to demonstrate the viability of their gods, magic and myth are used to cower the uninitiated and disempowered. And so, theologians have trivialized something profoundly prophetic. Both oath and mofith are signs in the sense of pointing us in the right direction. They reveal what's going to occur along the way. So rather than Yah saying, I was great, he is saying that the experiences in Miraim and during the Yatzah serve as signs foreshadowing what is going to occur, in particular the fulfillment of Passover, unyeasted bread, and firstborn children in year 4000 year, 33 CE. These signs are also being used to predict a second Exodus just prior to 6000 year, with God calling his people out of Babylon. As such, the events which transpired then should be seen with an eye to the future, 359 enabling us to perceive what God is doing in the lives of his people today in the modern manifestation of Moab. This was an especially valuable and intensely empowering, Haggadah. This was vitally important as an extensive verbal exchange which is essential for growth, amplifying, enabling, and magnifying, from Gadol, to grow and become important, to become powerful and be magnified, to do great things, experience, a time of examination and validation, and of getting the desired response, Harmasa, period of testing and evaluation, a proof statement at the conclusion of a voyage of discovery, a means to assess individuals and nations, from Nasar, to evaluate and try, to test and prove, which, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher, to guide to the proper path to get more joy out of life, you saw, witnessing, Ra, you observed and perceived, were shown to observe, Kal perfect, with your eyes Otter, your faculty of sight, the appearance of the conspicuous and distinguishing signs announcing future events, oath, the consent agreement and prophetic proof statements. These promises which will be recognized and remembered because they are predictive, accurately and truthfully confirming that which will occur, along with the miraculous means of communicating the message with distinctive banners and characteristic signals regarding future provisions, a prophetic pledge on a raised banner which is revealing and symbolic, and, in addition to, the exceptional indications of the amazing things which will come, Harmophith Haggadah Harhem. The marvelous and empowering symbols laden with tremendous portent along with the expectations of what will occur, the wonderful tokens and amplified verbal expressions which correspond to future events which are enabling and magnifying, this means of communication which is vitally important, and which facilitates growth, from Yafa, to be bright and beautiful. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:3. 360. Sometimes I wonder why so few have seen and shared the insights we have come to appreciate, such as a second Exodus, with the first from Egypt foreshadowing the next, from today's Babylons. Even more perplexing, how is it that so few appreciate the meaning behind each of the 7 mikre, the conditions and benefits of the covenant, and the timeline from Eden and back to the garden? These insights are essential because Yahowah is consistent. What transpired in the past serves as instruction for the future. This is Yah's way of saying that each story serves a purpose, and every occasion is a learning experience. Life in the Gan Eden, Garden of Great Joy, foreshadows what the covenant's children will experience when Yahowah replicates an expansive variation of the garden. The reason for the flood account is to show how serious Yahowah is about our need to distance ourselves from the ways of man. The lessons associated with the people's misguided affinity for King Sha'uwl were to warn us of the consequence of the wannabe apostle Sha'uwl. The story of Abraham and Yitschaq on Moriah was a dress rehearsal for the son's fulfillment of Passover. The first Exodus provides guidance for the next. These signs have been posted. They are there to guide us home. But should we have wondered why so few Israelites have come to appreciate Yahowah's approach and accept the guidance provided upon his signs, God explains. But, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his hayah existence and Shalom, restoration, has not bestowed, giving, Lo Nathan, has not placed nor entrusted, Kal perfect, literally has not provided for a specific period of time, Otter, the judgment or inclination, Lab, the disposition or thought process, the mindset or will, the attitude or 361 aptitude, to know or understand, Yada, to notice or perceive, to be aware or acknowledge, to observe or realize, to have the mental acuity to comprehend, or even to appreciate what Yada has come to know and understand, Kal infinitive construct, nor the eyes to have perspective, Ra, nor the ability to be observant, or, the ears to hear, neshamah, the faculty of listening, up to this time and beyond, until now. From the distant past to the present and into the future, on this day, ha-yawm ha-zeh. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:4. Of the statements we have evaluated thus far, this is the most provocative and thought-provoking. It appears to say that the capacity to know Yahowah is not innate but is, instead, a gift. It isn't that he is precluding his creation from finding him, nor is he stupefying anyone or blinding them, but he isn't making it easy either. And this means that God is not only taking the initiative and influencing who is ultimately adopted into his family, but that also, especially in harmony with up to this time, he is exerting considerable influence on when people will come to know him by the timing of his gift of divine insight. This being the case, we are in a position to answer a number of questions. First, as he did with Noach, Abraham, Moses, Daud, and Yirmiah, and many others, God introduces himself to those he is interested in knowing. Second, God facilitates Yada, our capacity to recognize and appreciate him such that we are prepared to respond. Without this assistance, we may never have heard of Yahowah or of the men and women who brought him to our attention. Third, while the decision to engage remains ours, as is the choice to prioritize the relationship and learn as much as is possible, everything is a collective effort. And as we 362 ponder the reasons this may be so, one explanation seems to rise above the others. There is so much rubbish out there, so many twisted and perverted claims, and they are so popular, the solution isn't to blend them together, to find common ground, to provide yet another source of half-truths but, instead, to undermine it all, obliterate the myths, and then render a consistent, corroborative, and correct presentation of Yahowah's testimony. However, as an isolated voice against this ever-present and resilient chorus, we would be at such a disadvantage without Yahowah supplying the Yada, we would be rowing up a waterfall. We simply wouldn't be smart enough to question the established institutions or make a lasting impression based upon what we could learn individually or on our own. In this light, I think trust is earned and that over time we demonstrate our commitment to knowing and freely sharing the truth by our consistent willingness to go where Yahowah's words lead, no matter how isolating, culturally irritating, and unpopular. By way of example, my exploration at God's bequest began in the most childish sandbox of human malfeasance and delusions, the Quran. Read Tea with Terrorists and Prophet of Doom, and then listen to any one of the 5,000 talk radio interviews I did on the subject and decide whether or not you think I deserved a promotion. Even then, my initial foray into Yahowah's word began with the prophets, not the Torah. And while there were insights galore, years would pass before I recognized the purpose of the Mikra, could enumerate the conditions of the Beryth, was able to properly pronounce Yahowah's name, realized that the New Testament was an outlier, and came to appreciate that Daud was the Messiah and Son of God, even our Savior. It is not just that these realizations were inspired by Yahowah bestowing the inclination to know and understand, the eyes to see and the 363 ears to hear, being diligent and consistent mattered as did being devoted to being right. Based upon God's provocative statement, we might conclude that we should be careful when it comes to trusting Jews presenting or interpreting Yahowah's message. From this occasion to ours, there have been fewer than 100 Jews who have gotten it right, while the Israeli landscape is littered with those who got it wrong, including a long list of infamous rabbis. God's pronouncement indicates why, apart from his 40 prophets, there have been so few Yahweh who have come to know and love Yahowah. And it explains why the rabbis seem to get nothing right and everything wrong. There has to be a reason why this entitled group of people could be so lost for so long. Beyond the fact that Jews were chosen, that God's revelation was to them in their language, the average IQ of Ashkenazi Jews is between 110 and 115, giving them the highest average intelligence quotient of any ethnicity. Blackman, 1972, Levinson, 1959, Romanoff, 1976. As evidence of the obvious, search through the rabbinical writings and see if you can find Yahowah's name. See if you can find a listing of the 5 conditions or 5 benefits of the covenant. Try to find an explanation of the purpose of any, much less all, of the invitations. Search for someone who realized and wrote that Daud was the Pesach El, and that he is the returning Mashiach and the Son of God. There is a most valuable and encouraging insight we can deduce from, but Yahowah has not bestowed, giving you, Yisra'el and Yahweh, the judgment or inclination, the disposition or thought process, the mindset or will, the attitude or aptitude, to know or understand, to notice or perceive, to be aware or acknowledge, to observe or realize, the mental acuity to comprehend, or even to appreciate what Yada has come to know, nor the eyes to perceive, or the ears to hear up 364 to this time. From the distant past to the present and beyond, on this day. The gift of divine awareness is forthcoming. The reason that Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations in year 6000 year is going to live up to Yahowah's expectations, and be enjoyed as the best day ever, is because a remnant of the people will have their hearts and minds, eyes and ears, opened such that they will be able to perceive, to Yada, what their forefathers missed. Personally, this realization is stupendous because it means that we need not worry about disappointing Yahowah, that our commitment to correctly conveying and interpreting his words will fail to awaken a sufficient number of Israelites and Yahweh to result in a satisfying and pleasing gathering of the chosen people before Yahowah during reconciliations. Yahowah will use what we are offering to achieve the desired result. Moses also affirmed something we have learned from Daud. The path to God is through understanding. And understanding is predicated upon knowing and then making the proper connections. Further, knowing isn't possible without observing and listening. Understanding requires a logical mindset and an open and receptive attitude. With Yah it has always been and will always be about Shama and Shema, listening and observing, Yada and Bin, knowing and understanding, so that we can be Zardak, right about the Beryth, covenant. In this regard, Yahowah wasn't being mean to the Israelites gathered around Moses on this day, just stating a fact. They had no reason, and thus no inclination to know how the things they had witnessed would affect our future, but we do. And speaking of understanding the future, the length of Yahowah's timeline is 7 and the fulcrum of his calendar is 40. As such, 365 I have journeyed with you, Waholak eth atom, I have walked, traveling through life together along with and near you, Hyphal imperfect, 40 years, Arbaim Shana, throughout this period of evaluation and renewal based upon 40, in the wilderness, Baha Midbar, in the place where one asks the who, what, where, why, when, and how questions regarding the word, from Ma, to question and Dabar, the word. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:5 in part. The history of man conceived in God's image, of mankind with a neshamah, conscience, plays out over the course of 7,000 years, 6,000 from expulsion from the garden to being invited to re-enter. This period is divided into 3 segments of 2,000 years, a multiple of 40 Yahbel, the 7 times 7 years plus 1 interval representing the time all slaves are freed, all debts are forgiven, and everyone returns to the land. In year 0 year, 3968 BCE, Adam and Chor were expelled from Eden, starting this progression of time. They had corrupted God's instructions and rebelled against them. In year 1000 year, 2968 BCE, Noach entered the scene, and he would walk away from human civilization and listen to Yahowah such that he and his family were spared aboard the ark. This served as a vivid and compelling demonstration of the covenant, inclusive of its conditions and benefits. He listened to Yahowah and did as God requested. As a result, he and his family were saved. In year 2000 year, 1968 BCE, Abraham and Yitschaq confirmed the covenant with Yahowah, providing a dress rehearsal for Pesach upon Moriah. Their 7th meeting together followed 6 in which the 5 instructive conditions and resulting benefits of the covenant were revealed. This exceptional event transpired 36,640 Yowbel from the expulsion from the garden, thereby establishing the means to return. In year 3000 year, 968 BCE, Yahowah revealed that Daud was the cornerstone of his covenant home on the summit of Moriah, just as it was being constructed. The man who wrote the Psalms and united Yisra'el was the Mashiach and the Son of God. His first of 3 lives would be lived in the center of human history, as the fulcrum upon which Yahowah's relationship with his people would pivot. It is 3,000 years after the expulsion from Eden and 3,000 years prior to our return to the garden. Then in year 4000 year, 33 CE, father and son fulfilled the first 4 Mikra: Passover, unyeasted bread, firstborn children, and 7 sevens later, Shabuah. The promise of 7 would enable the benefits of the covenant. Yahowah's children would have the opportunity to become immortal, perfected, adopted, enriched, and empowered as a result of what Daud achieved in cooperation with Yahowah at this time. 40 Yowbel thereafter, in year 6000 year, 2033, in the aftermath of the Yatzah, exodus from modern Moab, who's your father and this Neo-Babel, Babylon confusion, Yahowah will return for his covenant family. He will do so once again with his son, the Mashiach, Messiah, Daud, David, arriving on Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations. They will appear at sunset in Yerushalayim, above Moriah, 6:22 p.m., October 2, 2033. They will lead us back to the garden on Sukkah, to camp out together for 1,000 years. It is all a matter of time for the observant who listen to and think about what Yahowah has said and done. By quantifying the past, we can account for the future. The compound of Ma and Dabar in Midbar encourages us to seek answers to the who, what, where, why, when, 367 and how questions regarding the Word of God. We are to ponder the implications of His testimony. While this next line may seem a bit mundane, we'd be wise to consider it from the perspective of Yahowah's overall provision. I think He wants us to consider the enduring nature of the set-apart Spirit's garment of light as well as the protection He provided to keep Satan from oppressing His people. He does not want His minions nipping at their heels as was foretold in the garden, so that we can walk with Him. Your garments, Salma Otter, your clothing, from Simla, covering, did not wear out or become obsolete, Lo Bala, did not decompose or decay, from upon you, Minal Atom, as part of you and over you, and your sandals, Wanal Otter, your shoes serving as protection to enclose your feet, did not decompose, Lo Bala, did not wear out or become obsolete, nor decay or deteriorate, avoiding oppression, hardship, and decomposition, from upon your feet, Minal Otter Regal. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:5. God's protection is enduring, and His apparel is perfecting. Our walk will never subside. In that matzah, unyeasted bread is symbolic of removing the fungus of religion and government, militarism and conspiracy, from our souls. Lechem, bread infused with yeast is seen as a corrupting influence. Therefore, once they had availed themselves of the benefits of Pesach and matzah, these bikurim were kept pure prior to entering the promised land. You have not consumed, lo weqatal otter, you have not eaten, yeasted bread, lechem, leavened flour which is baked and rises, from lachem, to fight and make war, to be devoured in battle, or wine, yayin, crushed grapes fermented with yeast, 368 intoxicating beverages, sheker, fermented drinks such as beer or alcohol, you have not drunk, lo shatha, you have not consumed nor experienced, so that, for the purpose of being a witness, laman, for the sake of and on account of, from la concerning and man, to testify, responding with answers as a witness, you may know, yada, you may be aware and acknowledge, reveal and understand, that, indeed, ky, truly and surely, I am, Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by His Towrah, instructions regarding His hayah, existence and our shalom, reconciliation, your God, Elohim Otter. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:6. It takes a clear head to appreciate the things of God. Those who refrain from what is corrupting and intoxicating are invited to serve as witnesses, testifying to what we have come to know about Yahowah. It is the highest and best use of our time. Observe, Shema, of your own initiative closely examine and carefully consider, perfect consecutive, the words associated with, Ethdabar, the statements and message, the covenant, Haberith Harjoth, the family-oriented relationship agreement, this binding oath and promise, this stipulated arrangement between parties, and, act upon them and engage based upon them, Asar Ethem, of your own free will expend the considerable energy necessary to accomplish what needs to be done regarding them, perfect, consecutive, so that you may become an effective witness and provide answers, Laman, for the sake of and on account of, from La concerning and Man, to to testify, responding with answers as a witness, gaining insights by coming to understand and by being circumspect, sha'uwl, being prudent to prosper, paying attention to the instruction so as to comprehend, hyphal imperfect, with regard to everything, ethnicity, you do, asar, you expend energy 369 to achieve. Engage in and act upon, kal imperfect paragogic non-jussive, to show the way to get the most out of life, asher, which provides guidance regarding the correct and yet narrow path to walk to the benefits of the relationship. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:9. When it comes to knowing Yahowah and engaging in a relationship with Him, becoming part of His covenant family, it all begins with Shema, being observant. We have tried to honor this request by prioritizing our review of the words describing the covenant. The family volume of Yada Yahowah, and the covenant volume of observations are both devoted in their entirety to appreciating what Yahowah is offering and what He expects from us in return. The benefits include immortality, being perfected and adopted, being enriched and empowered. To receive these gifts, we are asked to disassociate from religion and politics and to walk to God along the path He has provided, trusting and relying upon Yahowah. This is achieved by closely examining and carefully considering the terms and conditions of the covenant, the last of which is to circumcise our sons so that we prepare them to be part of God's family. You are standing, Atom Nazab, you are firmly established, this day, Ha-Yam, all of you, Sha'uwl Atom, before the presence, La Pana, face to face, approaching the appearance of Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in His Towrah, teaching regarding His higher existence and our Shalom, restoration, your God, Elohim Otter. This includes the finest aspects, Rosh, the uppermost of your familial associations, Shabat Otter, of your people, tribes, and family, your mature men, Zakan Otter, those of you who are advanced in age, the elderly, and seasoned citizens, your scribes, Sota Otter, those who are literate and trained at writing, all of the individuals who comprise, Shirlish, Yisra'el, 370 those who engage and endure with God, Dabarim 29:10, your little ones, Tap Otter, your young children, your women, Isha Otter, your mothers and other females, and the foreigners from different ethnicities than your own, Wajir Otter, those from different geographical or cultural groups, who are camping out in your midst, Asher Bar Kireb Makane, who to enjoy the benefits of the relationship and to be guided along the way are in the middle of your encampment and temporary dwelling place. From the one who chops your wood, Min Chatab Etzotter, from a woodsman who fells trees for fires and for construction, to the one who draws your water, Ad Shob Maim Otter. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:11. This statement is relevant because it expands our perception of Yisra'el. The individuals who either engage and endure with God or who strive and struggle against the Almighty include men and women, young and old, the leaders, the laborers, and the literate. Yisra'el is inclusive of every ethnicity, albeit with a caveat. To be counted among the chosen, to be invited into God's presence, we must camp out in their midst. This serves as an indictment against the conspiratorial, political, and religious who view their antisemitism as enlightened and righteous. It is especially condemning of Christians, whose religion is based upon replacement theology, and whose actions have been so abusive of God's people. If you are opposed to Jews, Israel, or Zionism, you are opposed to God. What appears particularly interesting, in addition to the inclusiveness of the covenant, is the mention of 3 occupations pertaining to writing, chopping wood, and drawing water. Everything we know about Yahowah has come by way of the scribes who wrote the testimony God conveyed through His prophets on parchment. Wood was used to build homes, cook food, and illuminate the 371 darkness, keeping us warm and nourished, enlightened and protected, safe and comfortable. Water cleanses and restores life. Collectively, they may represent Daud, the writer, Daud, the Passover lamb, and the set-apart spirit. This is so that you may approach and pass into, La Obar Otabar, you can travel and draw near, crossing over into, come to possess a share of, by passing through into, the basis of Passover, the covenant, Beryth, the family-oriented relationship agreement, the pledge and binding oath, the contractual and mutually beneficial arrangement between God and His people, of Yahowah, Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by His Towrah, instructions regarding His hayah, existence and our Shalom, reconciliation, your God, Elohim Otter, into, Bar, His sworn agreement, Allahu, His binding oath, which leads to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, which provides guidance to the correct and narrow path to get the most joyous life. Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in His Towrah, teaching regarding His higher existence and our Shalom, restoration, your God, Elohim Otter, has cut, establishing it, Karat, made, creating an agreement through separation with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits, cal infinitive construct, establishing a genuine relationship through a verbal noun, with you this day, imota hayam. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:12. We have said it repeatedly because Yahowah wants us to acknowledge that the covenant is his family. It is a sworn and binding agreement, and therefore, backed by the word of God. Its stipulations lead us to the benefits of the relationship our Heavenly Father is seeking to establish with his children. 372 Being invited into Yahowah's family is a wonderful opportunity, and while it affords us tremendous freedom, we were not given the authority to alter what he is offering. When looking to participate, do not turn to the Talmud or New Testament. They are not the word of God, because they are the lies of men. Unlike the authors of those books, Yahowah does not break his promises, change his approach, or contradict himself. With statements like this next one, it's a wonder that 5 people, much less 5 billion, believe anything written in the Babylonian Talmud or Pauline New Testament. With the intent of providing answers, and for the sake of enabling witnesses, Laman, for this purpose and to this end, to make the response observable and knowable, from La, concerning and approaching, and Anna, to respond, reply, answer, and testify, he established, Kum, so that he can stand up for and confirm, doing what is needed to set up, build, accomplish, and fulfill, you, ethota, today, hayam, as, La, his people and family, La for his kin and followers, as part of his life and nation. Therefore, he will continue to be, hayah, he will actually exist as, Kal imperfect, your God, La Otter La Elohim, consistent with, Ka Asher, according to the guidance showing the way to the benefits of the relationship, his communications with you, Dabar La Otter, his word with regard to you, and, Wa, in keeping with, Ka Asher, according to the guidance showing the way to the benefits of the relationship, what he promised, Shabat, provided as a sworn oath on the basis of 7. Affirming the truth of what he had conveyed, Nephil perfect, to your fathers, La Abota, to Abraham, La Abraham, enriching and merciful father as well as the father of many nations, to Yitschaq, La Yitschaq, to laughter and play, and to Jacob, Wa La Jacob, my footsteps, I grab the heel, commonly transliterated Jacob, from I 373 and Akab, to receive the reward and suffer the consequences of circumventing or overreaching, digging in or embedding one's heels. Sometimes walking in a sly and accusative manner. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:13. The covenant was established with Abraham, Yitschaq, and Jacob, and confirmed with Yisra'el. It was not annulled, renewed, or changed by Daud and, most especially, not by Sha'uwl. By his own admission, Yahowah has been Ka Asher Dabar, consistent with his words and guidance, never wavering from what he Shabat has promised. With this affirmation of Yahowah's enduring promise to continue to serve as the God of Yisrael, the pretext of Christianity is destroyed. A religion predicated upon replacement theology crumbles when that foundation is torn asunder. This also means that the New Testament books of Matthew and Acts, where Paul's anti-Semitic influence was aggressively introduced, are discredited by the Torah. His one and only covenant would be for all of us. However, it is not with you alone that, while lo ethota la badota, but not for you by yourself, am establishing, making, creating an agreement through separation with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits, cal participle absolute, establishing a genuine, and singular relationship through a verbal adjective, this covenant, His Beryth hajoth, this particular family-oriented relationship agreement, the unique pledge based upon marriage, this treaty and alliance. The one and only contractual arrangement between parties. Indeed, surely for the reason, this sworn agreement, hajoth, in addition to this binding promise and oath, Dabarim 29:14, exists to show the way to whomever, yeshu, it is being 374 presented and is there to guide everyone to the benefits of the relationship, thereby affirming for them the correct path to walk to get the most out of life, is here with us, is hungry for this message, seeking to listen to what is being said from this place. Who seeks to be in a relationship with us, present and standing upright, amod, sustained and enduring, taking their stand, firm in their conviction and remaining steadfast, at this time, hayam, today, before the presence, la pana, approaching the appearance and personal existence. Face to face and in front, of Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah, existence and our shalom, reconciliation, our God, Elohim anaknu. It is also for whoever benefits from the guidance along the correct path to the relationship, YYV2C6, in addition to those who follow the narrow path to get the greatest benefit out of life, who is not, among those present here, someone open to the speech providing nourishment, in conjunction with us this day, with us at this time. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:15. There would be one covenant for all people and for all time. This covenant is a sworn agreement from Yahowah, and he has never reneged on a promise. While it is undeniably with Yisra'el, Goim, Gentiles who choose to stand with the chosen people have always been welcome no matter where or when we may live. There has never been and will never be a new or different covenant for other ethnicities. Therefore, if a person opposes Jews or Israel, as is the case with most liberal and progressive secular humanists, right-wing extremists, multiculturalists, Protestant and Orthodox Christians, Roman Catholics, Muslims, and conspiratorialists, by way of this animosity alone, they are 375 excluded from the covenant, estranged from God, and banned from heaven. It should be no surprise to anyone who isn't either ignorant or irrational that Muslims have been indoctrinated to hate Jews. It should also be obvious that there is a rapidly increasing number of politicized individuals, both extremely liberal and conservative, who are overtly hostile to Jews and Israel. Moreover, the fastest growing belief system worldwide is conspiracy, the foundation of which is predicated upon blaming Jews for everything. To the surprise of many, the putrid well from which this misguided antagonism toward Jews grew to become a worldwide menace is the Roman Catholic Church. Challenged only by Islam in their violent and degrading treatment of Jews, popes have oppressed and demeaned Yahowah's chosen for over 1,700 years. It is one of several reasons why the Roman Church is condemned as the whore of Babylon, and why the tyrannical Islamic nations represent geographical Babylon. We enter into God's presence and are adopted into his family through the Torah. Therein we find the keys to heaven and the path home. Consistently entering the doorways to synagogues, mosques, churches, temples, shrines, political edifices, and social media conspiracy sites universally exclude believers from approaching God. These are the ways of the Goim, of politics and religion. Indeed, in truth, you, yourself, know, Otter Yada, you are aware and understand, you have learned and acknowledge, you possess the information to be cognizant of, Kal perfect, how we lived, Asher, how to convey the proper path while we remained, in the realm of the crucibles of oppression, var eres miraim, in the land of the chronically diseased, in a place of anguishing troubles, of conspiracy and militarism, and how, to show the correct way to the benefits of the 376 relationship, war Asher, and how to provide guidance to the proper and narrow, restrictive but right, path to walk to get the most out of life, we passed through, Bar, we were led and forgiven in, the midst, Kireb, the psychological nature of the disemboweled corpses, within the womb of the dead and among the dying, gaining a sense of the warlike thoughts, emotions, and entrails, of the nations comprised of Gentiles, Hagawim, of the prideful pagan peoples worshipping false gods, of the populations of animalistic individuals, of the dead and decaying bodies, of ethnicities with a religious and political orientation, from Gawar, the backside or rear of a body, a euphemism for ass. We were led to do so, Asher, through which we were led along the correct path, in conjunction with Passover, Obar, passing over and forgiven. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:16. We are being provided with facts, with the evidence required to Yada, know how to become part of Yahowah's family, in addition to knowing what would cause us to be excluded. This is the truth which sets us free, just as it did for those who were listening on this day. The Hebrew root of miraim, the plural of miri or mizra, is derived from a blend of rather ominous terms mazrep, crucible, to test and purge, matsora, leprous and dreaded, chronic disease, mazar, anguishing trouble and distressful hardship, matsera, to be on guard, alerted against an impending future consequence, mizar, lowly and little, and matsor, to besiege. Matsor, as we have learned, is a compound of ma, to contemplate the who, where, why, when, and how of chur, to be troubled and confined, abused and afflicted. Therefore, in the plural, we might well define miraim as, the crucibles of chronic and dreaded diseases, a place of anguishing hardships and distressing 377 troubles. Those associated with it should be on guard, alerted against an impending future consequence of being besieged by the lowly and little, the meaning of the Roman name Paulus, Paul. In this light, it is particularly telling to realize that many, if not most, Mossa, Egyptian, Coptic Christians are ethnic Jews, the legacy of compelled conversions millennia earlier. It was here that the Torah was robbed of its Hebrew roots and was bastardized, giving birth to the Hellenized Septuagint. It is here that every pre-Constantine copy of the Christian New Testament was written and later discovered. It could be stated, both literally and historically, that the origins of the Christian Bible, its Old and New Testaments, were written in Greek in Alexandria, rather than in Hebrew in Yisra'el, Yahweh, or Yerushalayim. If I may quote Dowd, Seller, pause now and think about that. One of the many things which make the prophecies regarding the role of the Nakri, observant foreigner so provocative is that Yahweh consistently tells his people that the ways of the Goim, Gentiles are an abomination, especially their religions and politics, their militaristic ways and customs. This is one of many such examples. So therefore, you have seen, you have witnessed, perceived, and judged after discovering and considering, the abominable religious things associated with their gods, HaShem, their detestable and idolatrous abominations, their repulsive and filthy things, their corrupting and vile idols, and also, that which accompanies, their objects of worship and religious attire, Gilulim, their religious images, statues, artwork, idols, clothing, and apparel, which are expensive monetarily, often derived from silver and gold, many of which are comprised of wood or built of stone, etzwa ebenwa kezifwa zahabashirim timbers used to torture, hang, and kill prisoners, displayed 378 as religious symbols and objects of worship which cause the doorway to close, and thus Christian crosses and crucifixes of rock or any other natural materials including building stones which are valued and pricey, costing a lot of money, causing people to desire them, longing for what they represent, comprised of precious metals to appear splendorous and brilliant. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:17. Religious gods are eerily similar in character and disposition to the men and women who created them, making humankind's objects of worship a bewildering blend of anthropogenic amorphisms, replete with the human propensity for contradictions and rational fallacies, hypocrisy and misogyny, along with a heavy dose of immorality and violence. For example, Allah, like Muhammad, was depicted as a terrorist throughout the Quran. Dumb as the black stone in the obscured Kaaba, the Islamic God can't keep his stories straight, and is wrong historically, scientifically, rationally, morally, and prophetically. Allah endorses rape and pedophilia, and encourages mass murder, terrorism, and deception. Therefore, with Muhammad engaged in perverted sexuality, murderous revenge, and seeking ill-gotten gain, Muslims lie, steal, and kill for their pathetic deity expecting perpetual virgins in a paradise as their reward for horrific behavior. This man-made God was unable to perform a single inspiring miracle, offer so much as one creative insight, or provide a single prophecy which became reality to demonstrate that he was anything more than the deification of one of the most pathetic individuals who ever lived. To believe Muhammad, a rapist and pedophile, a murderous anti-Semite, a ruthless terrorist and thief, is to be ignorant, immoral, and irrational. And to be a good Muslim is to be like Muhammad. Paul's God, the Christian Jesus Christ, reflects his Creator. The totality of this God fits within the human form. 379 He was born and he dies, killed by the same Romans Paul claimed citizenship and to whom he demands submission. To believe Paul, it no longer matters what the God who created man has to say because Christianity is based upon, but I, Paul, say. The people through whom Yahweh revealed everything become the enemy of the new faith as the entire Gentile world is told that Paul, to the exclusion of all others, was deputized to speak for the reincarnated Greco-Roman Gnostic deity presented throughout the factually inaccurate and consistently contradictory verbal diarrhea that is venerated as scripture. Paul wasn't the first to lead people astray. The history of such behavior began with the king of Babylon, Nimrod, the son of God. His wife, Astarte, Asherah, was worshipped as the queen of heaven and the mother of God, especially on Easter Sunday. Said to be impregnated by the sun god during the vernal equinox, she gave birth 9 months later to the son of God on the winter solstice, creating the religious holiday known today as Christmas. Throughout the long march of time, the worst among us have claimed divine authority to conjure up such stories and then rule based upon them, many of whom actually claimed to be gods themselves and demanded veneration. The irony in this is that the God who created these men and women isn't religious, and does not want to be objectified or worshipped. Imagine creating this universe and conceiving the life within it, expressly to enjoy a familial relationship with your ultimate achievement, to enrich and empower those you have conceived, only to have these men and women ignore you and, worse, replace you in their lives with convoluted products of their twisted imaginations. On one hand, we have the God who is responsible for everything. He not only revealed himself to us through 380 Yahweh, proving his existence in the process, he made it possible for us to know him and live with him as his children, inheriting all he has to offer. He's brilliant and articulate, consistent and conversant, approachable and dependable, loving and lovable, enlightening and enriching, empowering and liberating. He's all we could ever want and more. Conversely, the religious, political, and militaristic gods of the Gentiles are non-existent figments of man's imagination, complete fabrications which have to be believed rather than known because they are mythical. They are perverted, convoluted, capricious, and fearsome, and yet, they always seem to support the local and national agendas no matter how counterproductive, covetous, or murderous the men responsible for them have been. Considering the contrast, to choose the fakes over the real, one must be blind. Before we contemplate Moshe's next statement, a little history lesson may be beneficial. Beginning in the 4th century BCE, and in the wake of Alexander's conquests, Rabbinic Judaism became heavily influenced by Greek philosophy and culture. The YYV admired the Greeks to such a degree it could be argued that the story chronicled in Maccabees is actually against total assimilation. Their purpose negated, no one, beware, there isn't anyone for an extended period in the future who exists among you, yesh bar atom, of stature, substance, or affluence, affirms your existence or status, at this time, hayah today, and from this day, not a man or woman, no group of people or tribe, isha or misfaka or shibet, individual, male or female, nation or kingdom, aristocratic family or institution, clan or subdivision, whose reasoning or inclinations, ashalibabhu, whose thinking and motivations, whose heart, mind, and soul, whose thoughts, conscience, feelings, and 381 volition show their path through life and what they enjoy, are found directed toward the presence of, Panaim, who are seen focusing their attention on, moving in the direction of. Prepared to face and appear with the appearance of, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in His Towrah, teaching regarding His hayah existence and our Shalom, restoration, our God, Elohim and Akdu. They are going after, Laholik, they are conducting their lives, living for, and following, approaching, worshipping, and serving, La'abad, to draw near, work with, or subject themselves to, the gods, Elohim, the deities and objects of worship, idols, judges, ghosts, the powerful or majestic, of the Gentile nations, HaShem, of those prideful pagan peoples worshipping false gods, of those populations of animalistic individuals, of those in contrast to Yisra'el, of the dead and decaying bodies of ethnicities with a religious and political orientation, from Gawar, the backside or rear of a body, a euphemism for asses, negated and without purpose, invalid and useless, there will be, yesh, there will exist, among you, var atom, a root, source, an underground source, a base and foundation, bearing, para, producing an abundance of offspring over successive generations, that which is infuriating and noxious, lana, cursed and sickening, unpleasant and galling, annoying, irritating, and maddening, poisonous and embittering, warosh, with the beginnings of that which is toxic and bitter, foremost in serpentine venom. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:18. After Solomon, Daud's son, there were only a handful of prophets willing to listen to and speak for Yahowah. From Malachi to now, over the span of almost 3,822,500 years, there has been none, not a single YYV willing to work with or speak for Yahowah. As a result, there simply weren't any Jews capable of exposing and condemning the ostentatious rhetoric of Sha'uwl, Paul. Unchecked, this evil man became so enamored with the most beastly expression of the ways of the Gentiles, he accepted the Roman name, Paulos, eerily similar to Apollo. Then, in the preeminent account of his new religion, he wrote, in the book he named, Romans, that everyone should submit to this Gentile nation and obey them as if they were serving God. Doing so put Paul in irresolvable conflict with Yahowah, His Towrah, covenant, and people. Had YYV not negated their purpose as Yahowah's witnesses and prophets, Paul's New Testament would have been laughed out of existence. Had YYV not turned away from Yahowah and promulgated all manner of myths, neither Christianity nor Islam would have taken root or spread. And if you count socialist secular humanism among mankind's belief systems, Jews can be found at the root of each of their most menacing foes. Since religious Jews are notorious for saying, Shalom Aleichem, peace be unto you, Yahowah has them muttering what they crave, hayah Shalom la eni, peace be upon me. Then, recognizing that the Haredi would fall under the spell of rabbis and become stubbornly adversarial in their halakha, walking in the Jewish laws, God is calling the practice sherarugh, adversarial and uncooperative recalcitrance. If you are Jewish, let this sink in. Those who claim to speak for God are only speaking for themselves. No one knows HaShem. And if you want to know Him, walk away from them and distance yourself from rabbis and their ilk. 383 And it shall come to be, hayah, it shall come to pass and exist, when he hears, bar shamahu, with him listening or if he chooses to hear, perfect consecutive, the account and record, the the word, the message and communication, that which has been said, the matters and statements, of this binding agreement and promise, oath, of this oath, this sworn and solemn statement, he will actually commend himself, barak, he will try to invoke divine favor upon himself, adoring and blessing himself, in his judgment, bar libab hu, in his heart, from his perspective, and in his opinion, his sense of right and wrong, and based upon his reasoning and inclinations, saying, La Lamar, claiming and declaring, peace be unto me, hayah shalom la eni, peace be unto me, I am content and satisfied. And I will be saved, though, ky, on the contrary, I walk, holok, journey through life and conduct myself, in the adversarial stubbornness, bar sheraruth, in the twisted recalcitrance, disquieting resistance, and resolute non-cooperation, while prevailing by lording over others in association with the fiery serpent, of my heart, lab eni, of my inclinations and motivations, my desires and thinking, my disposition and determination. As a result, Laman, as a consequence, those who are fully immersed, ha-roar, those with an abundance of experience and engulfed, are destroyed, Sappha, are swept away, along with those who are thirsting, wanting more, eth-hazama, with the parched. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:19. There is no hope for religious Jews. They will never find the shalom they desire. And sadly, those adorned in black suits and black hats have cast a dark shadow over those who are still thirsting for light, for knowledge, for truth. This is what we have long suspected, indeed known, but it is nevertheless exasperating to read. Yahowah isn't 384 going to forgive the religious. God doesn't want to forgive the religious. He will not invite anyone into his home who has excluded him from theirs. Those who have blotted out every mention of God's name will find themselves blotted out of Yahowah's memory. Yahowah, Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah, existence and our shalom, reconciliation, is not willing and will not consent to, lower bar, does not agree with and will not yield to their demands as he is opposed to obedience and submission, is unwilling to offer, kal imperfect, forgiveness for them, salaklahu, a pardon or release for him or them, but instead, ky, at that time, as, simultaneously at that point, Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his hayah existence and our shalom, restoration, will be aggravated and displeased, smoldering in overt hostility, a sharnaf, resentful and furious regarding him, he will angrily envelop him in smoke. And his passion and desire, kinahu, his desire for exclusivity in the relationship and jealous disposition, will be against those individuals, bar-ha-hu, will be upon this person, such that all, sha'uwl, of the mutually binding promises, Allah, of the sworn and requisite oaths which were made publicly, and in this case especially those invoking retribution, indelibly written, ha-katab, inscribed and engraved, communicated and recorded using the letters of the alphabet such that they were indelibly memorialized, in this book, bar-ha-sefer ha-zeh, upon this written document and recorded scroll, will come to haunt him and them, rabats bar-hu, will be laid upon him, settling upon him. 385 Yahowah, Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah, existence and our shalom, reconciliation, will blot out, makkah, will destroy, wiping away and removing, obliterating, their names eth-shemhu, his personal designation, reputation, and renown, from under heaven, min takath shamim, in relation to the spiritual realm. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:20. The unforgivable sin has been further elucidated. For our edification, this comes in conjunction with Yahowah exposing and condemning religious behavior, as we have long suspected. Those who have removed Yahowah's name from his book will have their names removed from the book of lives. Fair is fair. This being the case, let's be so bold as to make a recommendation. Come to know and understand, appreciate and respect, acknowledge and share Yahowah's name. Never utter Jesus Christ, HaShem, or the Lord again in conjunction with God. And also, join me in openly opposing the rabbis, against whom this indictment was laid. But because of the damage they have done perpetuating this crime, let's also include pastors and priests in our condemnation. Should you choose to disagree in this regard, please consider this wonderful affirmation of everything we have conveyed regarding Yisra'el, the Beryth, and the Towrah. And then, Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence and our shalom, restoration, will disassociate from him, excluding them, badal-hu, will dismiss him, expelling them, withdrawing from him, he will banish them, for his trouble, his depravity and opposition, la-ra, for his deplorable conduct, erroneous opinions, and twisted 386 perversions, his miserable and disagreeable ways, and malignant corruptions, from men. Every Sha'uwl, association, Shabat, clan, family, subdivision, tribe, and part, with Yisra'el, individuals who engage and endure with God, in accordance with, consistent with, all, Sha'uwl, of the mutually binding promises, Allah, of the sworn and conditional oaths regarding the publicly acknowledged agreement, of the covenant, His Beryth, family-oriented relationship agreement between the parties replete with pledges and promises, which were indelibly written, katab, that were inscribed and engraved, memorialized and communicated, then permanently recorded using the letters of the alphabet such that they were scribed, in the scroll, Sefer, upon this written document and recorded letter, this book recounting what has occurred while recording what has been said, of the Torah, Torah of teaching and instruction, guidance and direction. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:21. We have been put on notice, the rabbinic, Christian, Islamic, and even secular practice of removing Yahweh's name is considered erroneous and deplorable, twisted and depraved. This perversion of the word of God will result in complete dissociation from Yahweh and from his people. Participation in the covenant is predicated upon mutually binding promises, conditions and benefits, which have been stipulated in writing within the Torah. Therefore, Yahweh, the Beryth, and the Torah are inseparable and unalterable. Moreover, the only God who matters is Yahweh, the only witness which matters was written in this Torah, and the only relationship capable of prolonging our existence is the Beryth presented therein. It may seem odd to read him and them in this text, but nonetheless, it is the most accurate way to convey God's sentiment. So even though Hugh is third person 387 masculine singular, it is common to see it rendered as them, even without hem. And in this case, individuals are misleading many such that the consequence is shared, with the perpetrator and people ostracized and excommunicated. Further, when an individual's or community's dissociation is from Yahweh, it is indeed a badal state of affairs for all who suffer this fate. They will have their souls destroyed, squandering their potential or, worse, be sentenced to an eternity in Sha'uwl. Such are the wages of opposition to God for those who advance twisted perversions of his testimony. Allah is one of many Hebrew words with a light and dark side. It is a binding promise, a solemn oath, and a public pronouncement, even an exchange of vows. In this case, Yahweh is bound to do what he has written in his Torah, especially regarding the terms and conditions of his covenant. Therefore, if we accept his stipulations, he is bound to provide the agreed benefits. Similarly, those who have vowed to uphold the terms of the covenant, and who have publicly sworn to listen to God and respond appropriately, are committed to honor their promises or suffer the mutually acknowledged consequences. When Yahweh told Yisra'el, and us through them, that we would receive every possible blessing if we followed his guidance, he irrevocably stated that misleading others regarding his directions would be disadvantageous. And that is where the dark side of Allah comes into play. It speaks of negative consequences, or curses, for those who are not only counter to God, but who lead others away from him through their religious or political agendas. The covenant's mutually binding promises were indelibly written in the scroll of the Torah. If we want to be part of Yahweh's family, we will find the conditions 388, and benefits listed therein. We can accept them, reject them, or ignore them, but we are not at liberty to change them. Nor is it in our purview to alter the consequences of acceptance or rejection. Addressing everyone, but speaking directly to Yisra'el, there are 4 things we must know and accept if we want to survive the impending storm: Yahweh's Shem, Torah, Mikra, and Beryth. To discount them is to die. To speak or act in opposition to any of these life-sustaining gifts, and thereby lead others away from Yahweh, is to endure Sha'uwl forever. And while I'm not your judge, based upon what we have learned by studying Yahweh's words, if you remain deceived by religion or government, or if you embrace conspiracies, your soul will be destroyed. And if you promote your religion, if you are active politically, or if you encourage others to believe conspiratorial notions, eternal incarceration in a black hole will be the consequence. This remarkable introduction into the mindset of right-minded and misguided Israelites and Goum throughout the ages brings us to our time and to the influence of the Nakri, observant foreigner on Yahweh's children. It appears that it will take an outsider to get Yisrael's attention at long last. And perhaps that is why those who stand with Yisrael have been invited to participate in the covenant. Those who long ago introduced us to Yah now need one of the distant beneficiaries to point Yisrael in the right direction such that they return home. Yahweh's testimony in the Torah, Nabi, wa Mizmor has been available for thousands of years, and yet, in all that time, there wasn't a single receptive Yahudi, Jew through whom Yahweh could communicate to his people. Keeping in mind that the Nakri is defined in the books we are translating as someone who is Asher, properly guided, Hukum, stands up as 389 others bow down, and who is nakah, observant, closely examining and carefully considering Yahweh's words, exploring and considering what God has revealed in the Torah, he's little more than someone holding a lamp along with a magnifying glass, who says, Hine, pay attention to what Yahweh has to say. Fortunately, as Yahweh predicted, for the first time in a long time, Jews are listening to their God. And ironically, it's those who will denigrate and disparage his people, and even kill them, who will scream so loud that they will awaken the children of Yisra'el such that they hear Yahweh calling them to come out of Babylon. It is only when Yahweh, Jews are confronted with no alternative but to flee or be tortured and die that they will listen to Yah. The decree is, therefore, simply a voice, one calling out in the wilderness of human corruptions, prepare yourself for the arrival of Yahweh. His arrival was foretold by Moses so that the Israelites living today might listen to what he has to say on behalf of Yahweh and His Beryth and Towrah. So then, the last generation, Ha'akaran, those descendants dwelling at the end during the latter days, will make a profession and promise, will choose to declare at that time, expressing their desires in words, answering with the intent to be informed, perfect consecutive. Your descendants, Ben, your offspring, led along the correct path to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, properly guided, will step along the way that gives life meaning and purpose, will rise up and take a stand, Kun, will find confirmation and fulfillment, becoming established, imperfect, during a time long distant from yours, Minachar Otter, after your delay because of your hesitation, deferring, and remaining behind, in the end, because, and then, the 390 Nakri. The observant and responsive foreigner, Ha-Nakri, the discerning individual will pay very close attention, carefully examining and thoughtfully considering so as to recognize and acknowledge this, a man unrelated by ethnicity who will notice, come to perceive, and know, regard and respect what he discovers, becoming acquainted with the individuals and information, from nakah, to recognize and acknowledge, to know and regard that which he discovers through exploring, observing, and listening, then responding, will come, he will arrive to pursue this, guiding and directing those who wish to return and be included, imperfect, from a faraway place in a distant time, min eres Yitschaq, from a country a great distance away and after a long passage of time. Then, they will witness, they will see, perceive, and understand, that which is plaguing, Makar, the devastating pandemic disease afflicting the population, the casualties and scars, the loss of life, this land, Ha-Eres Ha-Hai, of the country and place, the evil disease and overall impairment, Tashalim, the grievous and agonizing sickness, necessitating intercession to resolve the sickness which grieves, Asher Shalabar-Hai, which unnecessarily saddens such that to lead those with the disease away from it and to the benefits of the relationship requires the plague to be associated with, necessitating the suffering of, Yahweh, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by His Towrah, instructions regarding His hayah, existence and our Shalom, reconciliation. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:22, Yahweh can be trusted to deliver on every promise. He has repeatedly vowed to reconcile his relationship with Yahweh and Yisrael, and it is a commitment he will uphold. This marvelous moment will occur in a manner consistent with his Torah instructions. The eyes of God's 391 people will be opened. They will finally perceive how devastating and deadly the rabbis and their religion have been. Led to the correct path, they will rise up and take a stand against all of those who have misled them. Pointing Yisrael and Yahweh in this direction, and toward this outcome, is the only reason the decree is prophetically relevant. Yahweh wants his people to consider what this foreigner has learned by translating his Torah, prophets, and Psalms. The title, Ha-Nakri, the observant foreigner, is based on the verb nakah, to recognize and acknowledge, to know and regard, that which is discoverable by exploring, observing, and listening. As such, the Nakri isn't presenting his own message but, instead, what he has observed by examining God's word. He is comfortable knowing that, whether they reject his translations and insights or find merit in them, they will be dismissing or acknowledging Yahweh, not him. He does not have a following, a mission statement, or a donate button. He does not claim to be a prophet. Nonetheless, it would be wise to read and listen to what he has discovered by studying Yahweh's prophets. The phrase, Asher Shalei Yahweh Bahai, is one of the most intriguing we have considered. It can be translated as saddened, revealing that Yahweh is rightfully grieved by mankind's propensity to be religious. But since Shula also means wounded and sickened, even tormented, the verb reveals that Yahweh, himself, would be afflicted and severely pained by this disease. It suggests that God would suffer the consequence of this plague, doing so to free us from the grip of the deadliest institution man has ever conceived, religion. This realization shapes our understanding of Anna, reply and respond in conjunction with Yom Kippurim, the Day of Reconciliations. those who answer 392 Yahowah's Mikra, invitation to be called out and meet are not afflicted because Dowd ransomed us from the plague of religion by allowing his soul to be Shelah, tormented in our stead, during unyeasted bread. We are, therefore, witnessing the greatest of all gifts, and the ultimate demonstration of love. There are innumerable possibilities with what follows. The devastation could be the result of a nuclear holocaust between nations, mankind's malfeasance, a supervolcano eruption, a natural event, or a devastating asteroid impact, should the prediction in Revelation be correct. But since they are expressly listed, and the causation is comparable, it's more likely a divine act of cleansing akin to what occurred in Sodom, and Gomorrah. The timing also suggests that the devastation might be akin to the plagues preceding the Yatzah, Exodus. We are also left to wonder if this will occur within one nation, an entire region, or the earth as a whole. While Erez is often used to describe the promised land, in this case, the context seems to imply that it is the nation from which the decree emerges that may feel the brunt of trauma, as has been the case thus far with COVID-19. If that is the case, the reason could be reminiscent of Egyptian recalcitrance toward freeing their Yisraelite captives. The nation that currently benefits the most from Jewish inventiveness and industry is the United States, which not so coincidentally, is where most non-Israeli Jews reside. Brimstone, with its purifying blue light, Japheth, sulfur, bearing the stench of decay, and, salt, melech, sodium chloride, the element which kills plants and yet preserves and flavors food, will change the composition but not consume. Sulfur, will heat and bake, burning away the serpent's influence. This entire country, Sha'uwl 393 are its high, the totality of this land, this region, and possibly the earth or material realm. Nothing will be sown, lo zara, no seeds will be dispersed or planted, with no yield and thus no first fruits, no children nor family, and, nothing will sprout up, lo zamak, life no longer growing from its original source and limited vegetation. And along, with all of this, vegetation will no longer rise, lo Allah bar high Shirley with all of her plants not going up, ascending, nor growing, similar to, the destruction, mapika, overthrowing and transforming, from question the who, what, why, when, and where of Hapak, transforming and overturning, reversing and changing, of Sodom, scorched, Sodom, burning, from Sad, to fetter and shackle slaves and hostages, and, Amorah, the manipulative and tyrannical, Gomorrah, enslaving and oppressing, making merchandise of men, of Odma, reddish ground, Odma, clay, from Adam, man and red, and, Zarboim, the swelling of the adulteress, Zarboim, Zeboim, the gestation of the whore's child. Which, Asher, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in His Towrah, teaching regarding His higher existence and Arshalam, restoration, destroyed, Hapak, overturned, in His resentment, Bar-Hu, due to His disgust and frustration, and in His hostility, Bar-Kemahu, in His antagonism and burning anger. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:23. Should this be the result of a natural disaster, it might be the result of a super-eruption, such as from the caldera beneath Yellowstone National Park. Should the 1,200-foot diameter asteroid named 99,942 Apophis be the culprit and collide with Earth on April 13, 2029, at 2146 UT rather than just whizzing past our planet inside of our geosynchronous communication satellites, less than 1/10 394 of the distance to the Moon, then the impact would have a similar effect. The name is ominous because it not only appears in Revelation, but was named after the Egyptian sun god's nemesis, an evil serpent which would plunge the world into darkness. Beyond these natural phenomena, there is also the likelihood of a devastating nuclear winter as the result of another world war. Of particular concern is the fallout of America's ill-fated invasion of Iraq. It has left the Middle East in shambles, with Muslim refugees infecting most of Europe. Also, Russia and China have now allied with the soon-to-be nuclear-capable Iran, while Europe and the United States are arming and abetting Sunni Muslims. The flashpoint, as was predicted in Isaiah 17, is Damascus, Syria. When it ultimately crumbles, the world will fall with it. Far too few people know and use Yahowah's name today, in 2023, for Sha'uwl Gawim, all Gentiles or every nation to express it, even in a question. After all, if they knew Yahowah's name, chances are that they would know why this was occurring. So hopefully this book, those which have come before it, the thousands of radio programs which we have produced and archived, along with the voices of those who have been instructed by this witness devoted to the importance and pronunciation of Yahowah's name will serve to educate and enlighten as never before, with a meaningful number of Gentiles knowing and using it. Considering the fact that Moses was speaking of an event nearly 3,500 years in his future, regarding people and cultures speaking languages he could not possibly understand, there is another possibility. Sha'uwl, which is typically rendered as every or all, could speak of most, a majority, or just many. Rather than translating Goyim as Gentiles or nations, it could be addressing non-Hebrew ethnicities, those estranged from or opposed to Yisra'el, 395 religious and political individuals, or the nations, cultures, or regions in which they congregate. As such, Gentiles of every ethnicity seems like an appropriate translation of Sha'uwl Goyim. Should this imply that it's one nation or region which will be devastated, one which is of great concern to the world at large, then it is likely that of the Nakri. His nation is indeed a great distance from Israel, of great concern to every nation on earth, home to the greatest concentration of Jews outside of Yisrael, and English is the most pervasive language on earth. It is also the nation rebuked in Yeshaya, Isaiah 18 for its role in narrowing Yisrael, and arming her enemies such that war becomes inevitable. Then, Gentiles of every ethnicity, Sha'uwl HaGoyim, large groups of individuals from every cultural, national, ethnic, political, religious, or geographic identity, all who are either uncultured, polytheistic, or heathen, all those estranged from and opposed to Yisrael, the majority of foreigners, will question, will inquire, for what reason, why, and over what, has Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah. Existence and shalom, reconciliation, acted in this manner toward, Asar engaged this way and to such a degree toward, this country, ha-eres ha-joth, this land, region, nation, or place. What, caused this intense animosity, Kori, burning indignation and fierce response, this great antagonism, ha-gadol ha-zeth, this tremendous frustration, resentment, and disgust. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:24. Apart from the use of Yahowah's name, up to this point, these are questions most anyone might ask. In fact, people are always looking for someone or something to blame for every catastrophe. Catholics continue to blame Jews for killing their God. Muslims blame Jews for their 396 lack of success. The conspiratorialists blame Jews for that which they, themselves, are guilty of doing. And socialist secularists blame Jews for building houses among those who are terrorizing them. Beyond this, until more people consider these translations and resulting insights, it's hard to fathom how Gentiles will come to realize that Jews are reaping the consequence of neglecting Yahowah and his covenant while also failing to appreciate the prophetic nature and purpose of the first Exodus. Said another way, since the following conclusion is correct, a significant number of Goyim will become aware of who God is, what he is doing, and why he is engaged in this manner. How that happens, should it not be connected somehow to the Nakri, remains unspecified. Based upon what follows, logic dictates that the nation being destroyed has a name, the United States of America. The God of their fathers and being led out of Egypt references apply only to Yahweh, Jews. Over 40% of the worldwide population of Israelites, at least of those who acknowledge themselves as such, live in America, which represents 2/3 of those currently abiding outside Israel. Further, since there does not seem to be another candidate writing about such things on behalf of Yahowah and the chosen people, the nation in which all of these books and radio programs have been written and spoken is the United States. Moreover, they will say, express, regarding the way to the relationship, al-asher, in opposition to the path that leads to life, they either neglected or they rejected, azab, the fasuk and disassociated themselves from, kal perfect, the covenant, His Beryth, the family-oriented relationship agreement, with Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God has directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence and 397 Shalom, restoration, the God, Elohim, of their fathers Abhem, which, to lead them to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, to guide them to the correct path to get the most out of life, he established with them, Karatim, he cut them into, creating through separation, by, with, him bringing them out, Yatsahueth him coming to serve, descending to publicly lead them out, of the realm of the crucibles of oppression, Miraim, in the land of the chronically diseased. Of testing, and purging, in a place of anguishing troubles, the region besieged by the lowly and little and thus alerted against an impending consequence, in the country of Egypt. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:25. To recognize any of this is to understand the nature of the covenant and the purpose of the Exodus. While it is right, currently less than 1 in a million are aware of what Yahowah revealed. Moreover, this will not become common knowledge until after Yah returns. Speaking to the remnant of Jews living in America, who are unwilling to leave political Babylon. Moses is reminding us that they remain estranged from the covenant Yahweh established with their fathers. They have not made the connection we made earlier, that the exodus from Egypt was a harbinger of the final trip home, quite literally the final solution to what has been a Jewish problem. For far too long, Yisra'el has neglected and or rejected their place in the covenant and the God who offered it to them. They have been harassed and abused by those who covet and claim what they have squandered. There is something worse than neglecting Yahweh and rejecting his family, and that is chasing after false gods. And yet, this has become mankind's proclivity, with virtually everyone pursuing gods conceived by men. And Jews have led this crusade, with Israelites having 398 founded Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and socialist secular humanism. So, they pursued, Holok, they walked to and went after, proceeding toward and followed, behaving in accordance with, and served, bad, working for, being burdened by, and worshipping, Kal imperfect, other gods, Elohim Acre, different deities, in addition to verbally explaining their allegiance to them, Wachor Lahem, showing and telling, using words to speak to and for them, worshipping them, Hikpale consecutive imperfect, continually doing so on their own initiative, and without assistance, gods, Elohim. With whom, Asher, they were unfamiliar and which are unknowable, Lo Yadahem, who made no sense to them, Kal perfect, negating and dividing them, deceiving and dispersing them, while Lo Chalak Lahem, eliminating their share and apportionment of the inheritance by encouraging misleading opinions, false perceptions, and seductive lies, Kal perfect. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:26. Of the things which aggravate Yahweh, it's hard to imagine anything worse than his creation's propensity to create, and worship false gods. Claiming to know him, claiming to speak for him, claiming to be inspired and authorized by him, clerics the world over have ignored his testimony and promoted frauds which have poisoned the minds and corrupted the souls of billions of people. It must sicken when his people advance these corruptions and when the resulting concoctions are used to plague Yisrael and Yahudah. Can you imagine being God, having done so much for humankind, looking upon your creation and finding no one receptive to you, no one willing to listen to what you have to say and offer? And worse, imagine the most powerful and influential civilizations, religious institutions and nations, such as Imperial Rome, the Roman Catholic Church, Islam, and now the United States of America, 399 vociferously contending to be godly with devastating consequences for your people. So, the animosity, the frustration and anger, resentment and grievance, of Yahweh, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah, existence and Shalom, reconciliation, against, with, this country, Eres high, land, region, nation, or realm, will bring upon it, Labo al-High, clearly pursuing the inevitable association with, all of the harmful consequences, Sha'uwl ha-Kalahah. Everything that invokes the vilification of those seen as insignificant and having no value, that were written, ha-Katab, which were permanently inscribed using words and letters, in this scroll, ha-Sefer ha-Zeh, upon this document, written communication, and book. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:27. The Torah includes a balanced presentation of commendation and condemnation, of credits and debits, of love and hate, of good and bad, such that we are aware of the consequence of our choices. If we choose Yahweh, if we act upon the conditions of his covenant, if we accept his invitations to meet, we will receive the promised benefits. If we neglect these, we will die, overlooked by God. And if we consistently lead others astray, deceiving them, then we will be convicted and incarcerated consistent with the Torah's guidance in this regard. In that we have not heard from Captain Obvious in a while, he would like to point out something, obvious. With Moses constantly referring to this, the written Torah, and never once mentioning an oral Torah, there was only one Torah. Addressing Moses' next statement, unless something is uprooted in an appropriate manner, and unless it is 400 immediately and properly replanted, it will die. In this case, these are weeds. And, Yahweh, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence and Shalom, restoration, will uproot them, Natashem, pull them out of the ground, destroying them, from upon their land, Minal Adamahem, in and out of that ground of theirs, in frustration, in anger and animosity, resentment and consternation, and with deadly antagonism, Kema, in hostility and displeasure, and even poisoning what remains. Then, as if snapping a twig in anger, Kazif, as a sign of furious discord, dissension, and disharmony, breaking their branches away in annoyance, he will throw them, Shalakhem, He will hurl and scatter them, casting them into another land, El Eres Acre, into a different country or the next region, consistent with, Ka, similar to and as a comparison or similitude to, this day, Ha Yom Hazeh. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:28. Remember, on this day the Israelites were still in Moab, the modern manifestation which is the politically correct multicultural milieu of socialist secularism and Pauline Christianity. Most Jews remain in this place, embracing the former while harassed by the latter. Therefore, many will be uprooted and die in this place, a milder version of what occurred 80 years ago throughout Europe. There is a tendency for English Bibles to butcher the concluding statement of Dabarim 29:29. For them, it is as if Yahowah were revealing all of this for absolutely no reason other than for his bemusement. They read, "The secret things belong unto the Lord our God." KJV, NASB, and NIV, or the Lord our God has secrets known 401-01. We are not accountable for them. NLT. Why would God keep secrets? Why bother with 40 prophets over 4,000 years if God wanted to remain hidden and unknown? The New World was hidden from view, but hardly a secret. So were atoms and DNA. They have always been there and observable, just not known. It took the desire to know, the time and energy to explore, the creation and use of the right tools, and the courage to go where most dared not tread to find these things. The same is true with Yahowah's testimony. The words were written down expressly for us to observe them. And by doing so, we have discovered and shared hundreds if not thousands of insights not previously considered. The fact that God's name is pronounced Yahowah, that the set-apart spirit is feminine, that Torah means teaching, not law, that there are 3 destinations for human souls, 5 conditions of the covenant, and that the way to God is through the 7 Mikra are examples of what we found by more fully and accurately translating Yahowah's Torah and prophets. To this, we can add that Daud is the Son of God and the returning Messiah. We also know that the Talmud and New Testament are trash. Confusing many is la, a preposition which can be rendered as concerning or approaching but not belong, nor in the manner presented in the NLT. So, in actuality, Moses is addressing how the things which are unknown prior to investigation and things which have been revealed more openly work together as part of Yahowah's eternal witness, collectively conveying the Torah's teaching so that we might approach God by responding appropriately to him. The concealed things, satar, the hidden and not readily known realizations which are kept safe and 402 protected, concerning, la, about, Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his hayah, existence and our Shalem, reconciliation, our God, Elohim and Aknu, and the things which are revealed, then discovered and openly known, Wahagalah, that information which is uncovered and exposed, then shown to exist, are for us to approach. La Naknu, and for our descendants to draw near, while our Beni and Aknu, and concerning our children, forever and ever as an eternal witness, ad olam, eternally providing testimony, and doing so for all time, as it has been it will always will be. With the evidence provided and the testimony given to the witness continuing to endure going all the way back to the beginning, so that we may act upon and engage in, la asar, endeavoring to do and gain from, all of the words, Sha'uwl Dabarim, in concert with every word and statement, of this Torah, this source of teaching and guidance, Torah Hajoth, this particular and singular place from which instructions and directions flow forth. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29:29. It has always been a matter of going where the words lead. And that is because every word of the Torah brings us home, to the covenant. This is what Moses conveyed. This is what the prophets taught. It would be wise, therefore, to trust his assessment of the Torah and its covenant and follow Moses' advice. This introduction to God was composed to direct our attention to Yahowah, to provide instruction on the Word of God, to guide the chosen people back to the Promised Land, and to teach us so that we might more fully understand. Recognizing that repetition serves as a catalyst in this regard, let's review Moses' prophetic declaration. 403 These, alay, are the words, Dabari, of the covenant, His Beryth, which lead to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, Yahowah, instructed, Zawa, 4, Moshe, to establish, La Karat, with the children, Ben, of Yisra'el, in the land, Bar Eres, of Moab, who's your father, Moab. He did so as part of, Min Labad, the covenant, His Beryth, that he cut, Asher Karat, in association with them, Ethem, in Korib, Bar Korib. Dabarim, words 29-1. Moshe, summoned, calling out to, Kara El, all of, Sha'uwl, Yisra'el, saying to them, Wa Elhem, you, yourselves, have witnessed Atam Ra, everything that, Sha'uwl Asher, Yahowah, Yahowah, acted upon and engaged in, asar, before your eyes to provide a witness, la inota, in the realm of the religious and political oppressors, bar eres miraim, before Pharaoh, la Pharaoh, before all, wa la Sha'uwl, of his servants, la ebed hu, and throughout his land, wa Sha'uwl eres hu. Dabarim, words 29-2. This was an especially valuable and intensely empowering, ha-gadol, experience, a time of examination and validation, and of getting the desired response, ha-masa, which, for the benefit of the relationship, asher you saw, witnessing, ra, with your eyes inota, the appearance of the conspicuous and distinguishing signs announcing future events, the prophetic proof statements, ha-oath, and, wa, the exceptional indications of the amazing things which will come, ha-mofith ha-gadol ha-hem. Dabarim, words 29-3. But, wa, Yahowah, has not bestowed, giving, lo Nathan, you, otter, the judgment or inclination, the disposition or thought process, the mindset or will, the attitude or aptitude, lab, to know or understand, yada, nor the eyes to perceive or have 404 perspective, wa in ra, or, wa, the ears to hear, erzun la shama, up to this time and beyond, ad, on this day, ha-yawm ha-zeh. Dabarim, words 29-4. I have journeyed with you, wa holok eth atom, 40 years, arbain shana, in the wilderness, in the place where one asks the who, what, where, why, when, and how questions regarding the word, Baha Midbar. Your garments, Salma Otter, did not wear out or become obsolete, Lo Bala, from upon you, Minal Atom, and your sandals, Wa Nal Otter, did not decompose, Lo Bala, from upon your feet, Minal Otter Regal. Dabarim, words 29-5. You have not consumed, Lo Weqatal Otter, yeasted bread, lechem, or wine, Wa Yayin. Intoxicating beverages, Wa Sheker, you have not drunk, Lo Shatha, so that, for the purpose of being a witness, Laman, you may know, you may be aware and acknowledge, understand and reveal, Yada, that, indeed, KY, I am, Eni, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter. Dabarim, words 29-6. Observe, Wa Shema, the words associated with, Ethdabar, the covenant, His Beryth ha-joth, and, Wa, act upon them and engage based upon them, Asar ethem, so that you may become an effective witness and provide answers, Laman, gaining insights by coming to understand and by being circumspect, Sakel, with regard to everything, Sha'uwl, you do, Asar, to show the proper path to walk to get the most out of life, Asher. Dabarim, words 29-9. You are standing, Atom Nazab, this day, Ha-Yawm, all of you, Sha'uwl Atom, before the presence, La Pana, of Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter. This includes the finest aspects, Rosh, of your familial associations, Shibet Otter, your mature men, Zakon Otter, your scribes, Sota Otter, all of the 405 individuals who comprise, Shirlish, Yisra'el, Dabarim, words 29-10, your little ones, Tap Otter, your women, Isha Otter, and the foreigners from different ethnicities than your own, Wajir Otter, who are camping out in your midst, Asher Bar Kireb Makane, from the one who chops your wood, Min Chatabetz Otter, to the one who draws your water, Ad Shob Maim Otter. Dabarim, words 29-11. This is so that you may approach and pass into, La Otter Bar, the covenant, Beryth, of Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter, into, Bar, his sworn agreement, Elahu, which leads to the benefits of the relationship, Asher. Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter, has cut, establishing it through separation with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits, with you this day, Imota ha-yam. Dabarim, words 29-12. With the intent of providing answers, and for the sake of enabling witnesses, Laman, he established, Kun, you, Eth Otter, today, ha-yam, as, La, his people and family, La am. Therefore, he will continue to be, Wahu hayah, your God, La Otter La Elohim, consistent with, Ka Asher, his communications with you, Debar La Otter, and, Wa, in keeping with, Ka Asher, what he promised, Shabat to your fathers, La Abotter, to Abraham, La Abraham, to Yitschaq, La Yitschaq, and to Jacob, Wa La Jacob. Dabarim, words 29-13. However, it is not with you alone that, while Lo Eth Otter La Bad Otter, I, Eni, am establishing, this covenant Eth Ha-Beryth ha-joth. Indeed, KY, this sworn agreement, Wa Eth Ha-La ha-joth, Dabarim, words 29-14, exists to show the way to whomever, Eth Asher Yeshu, is here with us, who is hungry for this message, willing to listen to what is being said from this place, seeking to be in a relationship with us. Poem 406 Anaknu, present and standing upright, taking their stand, firm in their conviction and remaining steadfast at this time, Ha-Yam, before the presence, La Pana, of Yahowah, Yahowah, our God, Elohim and Anaknu. It is also for whoever benefits from the guidance along the correct path to the relationship, Wa-Eth Asher, who is not, Ein, among those present here, Po, in conjunction with us this day, Imanaknu Ha-Yam. Dabarim, words 29:15. Indeed, KY, you know, Otter Yada, how we lived, Asher, in the realm of the crucibles of oppression, in the land of the chronically diseased and of anguishing troubles, Bar Erez Miraim, and how, to show the correct way to the benefits of the relationship, Wa Asher, we passed through, Obar Bar, the midst, Kireb, of the nations comprised of prideful pagan peoples, Hargawim. We were led to do so, Asher, in conjunction with Passover, Obar. Dabarim, words 29:16. So therefore, Wa, you have seen and perceived, Ra, the abominable religious things associated with their gods, Eth Shekwas-hem, and also, Wa, that which accompanies Eth, their objects of worship and religious attire, Gilulim-hem, which are expensive monetarily, often derived from silver and gold, many of which are comprised of wood or built of stone, Etzwa Eben wa Kezef wa Zahab Asher im-hem. Dabarim, words 29:17. Their purpose negated, no one, pen, exists among you, Yesh bar atom, at this time, Ha-Yam min, not a man or woman, no group of people or tribe, Isha au Misfaka au Shabet, whose reasoning or inclinations, Asher libab hu, are found directed toward, Panaim, Yahowah, Yahowah, our God, Elohim and Akdu. 407 They are going after, La Holok, approaching, worshipping, and serving, La Abad, the gods, Eth Elohim, of the Gentile nations, Hargawim Ha-Hem. Negated and without purpose, pen, there will be, Yesh among you, bar atom, a root, sorsh, bearing, para, that which is infuriating and noxious, lana, poisonous and embittering, wa rosh. Dabarim, words 29:18. And it shall come to be, wa hayah, when he hears, bar shamahu, the account and record, eth debar, of this binding agreement and promise, ha joth, he will actually commend himself, barak in his judgment, var libabhu, saying, la ma, peace be unto me because I am content and satisfied, and will be saved, hayah shalom la eni, though, ky, I walk, holok, in the adversarial stubbornness, bar sheraruth of my heart, lab eni. As a result, laman, those who are fully immersed, ha-roah, are destroyed, safa, along with those who are thirsting, wanting more, eth hazama. Dabarim, words 29:19. Yahowah, Yahowah, is not willing, and he will not consent to, lower bar, forgiveness for them, salaklahu. But instead, ky, at some point, as, Yahowah, Yahowah, will become aggravated and displeased, smoldering in overt hostility, ashanaf. And his passion for exclusivity in the relationship and jealous disposition, kinahu, will be against those individuals, vahash, such that all, Sha'uwl, of the mutually binding promises, Allah, indelibly written, ha-katab, in this book, Sefer Hazeh, will come to haunt him and them, Rabats Bahu. Yahowah, Yahowah, will blot out, Makkah, their names, Eth Shemhu, from under heaven, Min Takath Shamaim. Dabarim, words 29:20. 408 And then, Wa, Yahowah, Yahowah, will disassociate from him, excluding them, Badal for his troubling depravity and opposition, for his deplorable conduct, erroneous opinions, and twisted perversions, La Ra, from, Min, any, Sha'uwl, association, Shibet, with Yisra'el, individuals who engage and endure with God, Yisra'el, in accordance with, Ka, all, Sha'uwl, of the mutually binding promises, Allah, of the covenant, His Beryth, which were indelibly written, Ha-Katab, in the scroll, Sefer, of the Torah. Teaching and instruction, guidance and direction, Ha-Towrah Hazeh. Dabarim, words 29:21. So then, Wa, the last generation, Ha-Dawah Ha-Akaran, will make a profession and promise, Amar. Your descendants, Otter Ben, led along the correct path to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, will rise up and take a stand, Kun, during a time long distant from yours, Minachar Otter, because then, Wa, the Nakri, the observant and responsive foreigner, Ha-Nakri, will come, guiding those who wish to return and be included, Bo, from a faraway place in a distant time, Min Erez Yitschaq. Then, Wa, they will perceive, Ra, that which is plaguing, Makar, this land, Ha Erez Ha Hai, the evil disease and overall impairment, Tashalim, necessitating intercession to resolve the sickness which grieves, Asher Shilabar Hai, Yahowah, Yahowah. Dabarim, words 29-22. Brimstone, with its purifying blue light, Japheth, and, Wah, salt, Melech, will change the composition but not consume, Saifa, this entire country, Sha'uwl Erez Hai. Nothing will be sown, Lo Zara, and, Wah, nothing will sprout up, Lo Zamak. And along, Wah, with all of this, vegetation will no longer rise, Lo Allah Bar Hai Sha'uwl Zeb, similar to, Ka, the destruction, Mapika, of Sodom, scorched, Sodom, and, Wah, Amorah, the 409 manipulative and tyrannical, Amorah, of Odma, reddish ground Odma, and, Wah, Zarboim, the swelling of the adulterous, Zarboim, which Asher, Yahowah, Yahowah, destroyed, Hapak, in his resentment, disgust, and frustration, Bar Hu, because he has been antagonized, Wah Bar Kemahu. Dabarim, words 29-23. Then, Wah, people of every ethnicity, Sha'uwl HaGoim, will question, Amar, for what reason, Almar, why, and over what, has Yahowah, Yahowah, acted in this manner toward, Asar Kakalah, this country, Ha Erez Ha Joth. What, Ma, caused this intense animosity, Kori, this great antagonism, Ha Gadal Ha Zeth. Dabarim, words 29-24. Moreover, Wah, they will say, Amar, regarding the way to the relationship, Al-Asher, they either neglected or they rejected, Azab, the covenant, His Beryth, with Yahowah, Yahowah, the God, Elohim, of their fathers, Abhem, which, to lead them to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, he established with them, Karatim Hem, by, Bar, him bringing them out, Yatzahu Hemmin, of the realm of the crucibles of political and religious oppression, conspiratorial and economic persecution, Miraim. Dabarim, words 29-25. In addition, Wah, they pursued, Holok, and served, Wah-Bad, other gods, Elohim Acre, in addition to verbally explaining their allegiance to them, Wah-Cho'ol Ahem, gods, Elohim, with whom, Asher, they were unfamiliar and which are unknowable, Lo Yadahem, negating and dividing them, deceiving and dispersing them, Wa-Lo Chalak Lahem. Dabarim, words 29-26. So, Wah, the frustration and resentment, Af, of Yahowah, Yahowah, against, Bar, this country, Ha Erez Ha Hai, will bring upon it, La Boel Hai, all of the 410 harmful consequences, Eth Sha'uwl HaKalaha, that were written, Ha Katab, in this scroll, Ba Ha Sefer Ha Zeh. Dabarim, words 29-27. And, Wah, Yahowah, Yahowah, will uproot them, Natash Hem, from upon their land, Min al Adama Hem, in frustration, Bar Af, and with deadly antagonism, Wah Bar Kema. Then, as if snapping a twig in anger, Wah Bar Kazif, he will throw them, Shelach Hem, into another land, El Erez Acre, consistent with, Ka, this day, Ha Yom Ha Zeh. Dabarim, words 29-28. The concealed things, Satar, concerning, La, Yahowah, Yahowah, our God, Elohim and Aknu, and the things which are revealed, then discovered, becoming openly known, Wahagalah, are for us to approach, La and Aknu, and for our descendants to draw near, Wala Beni and Aknu, forever and ever as an eternal witness, Ad Olam, so that we may act upon and engage in, La Asar, all of the words, Eth Sha'uwl Dabarim, of this Torah, this source of teaching and guidance, Ha Towrah Ha Joth. Dabarim, words, Deuteronomy 29-29.